Chapter 11:24. Battle, my body is far stronger than you can imagine. As Dee said that, his body started to swell up. Buzz. Dee's body grew larger and larger until he was at least twice his original size. Not only did his body grow bigger, but Dee's aura had also risen significantly. Initially, Dee was only a grade 3 human supreme. After circulating the energy in his body, his aura shot up to grade 5 human supreme and was still rising. Bang! Bang! Two muffled sounds rang out. Dee's aura rose from a 5th grade human supreme to a 7th grade human supreme. I can't believe it. The Dark Emperor could not help but curse when he sensed the terrifying aura emanating from Dee. Dee was already one of the 5 absolute geniuses. Now that he had raised his cultivation to the 7th grade human supreme, how powerful would he be? What did Ning Yu have to fight with him? He might as well go home and sell his sweet potatoes. No matter how much Dee's cultivation base has increased, he's only one of the 5 absolute geniuses. The talisman martial supremacy knew what the Dark Emperor was thinking and explained, all in all, Dee's strength has only doubled. Puff. The Dark Emperor's eyeballs were about to pop out. Only doubled in strength? Even a talisman martial venerable could say such words. It would have been difficult for Ning Yu to defeat Dee before he became stronger, let alone Dee who was twice as strong. Xiao. Dee was well aware of his body's condition. After circulating the energy in his body to double his strength, he could only last for half an hour. In other words, he had to kill Ning Yu or heavily injure Ning Yu within half an hour. Otherwise, when his strength dropped, he would definitely be easily defeated by Ning Yu. Dee dashed out and brandished the 3-foot sword in his hand, unleashing multiple sword rays. Kill. Ning Yu had a serious expression on his face as he waved the red demon's sword in his hand. Instantly, numerous sword rays flew out and collided with the sword rays that Dee had unleashed. Chi-chi. Countless sword lights collided with each other, emitting chi-chi sounds. Ning Yu, how are you going to block this sword? By the time the sword radiance dissipated, Dee had already arrived beside Ning Yu. His 3-foot sword pierced out and landed right on Ning Yu's heart. Ding! The result left Dee in despair. Dee's eyes narrowed when he heard the crisp sound. Dee had never expected that he would not be able to break through Ning Yu's armor even though his strength had doubled. His strength was doubled, and he held a mid-grade monarch flying sword in his hand. Right now, Dee was at his peak condition. Even at his peak, he still couldn't break through Ning Yu's armor. One could imagine how terrifying Ning Yu's armor was. It isn't a low-grade monarch rank armor. Dee's face darkened. He took a few steps back and shouted coldly, "The armor you're wearing is definitely a mid-grade monarch. I don't think it has anything to do with you." Ning Yu raised his eyebrows. "You can't even break through my armor. How are you going to kill me?" "Humph. Don't think that I don't have a way." Dee scoffed. "Everyone from the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, listen up. Capture Ning Yu's friends, dead or alive. Once you're done, I can give you a large amount of cultivation resources. I guarantee that your cultivation base will increase by a level." Whoosh! The power of Dee's words was still very strong. The martial artists from the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion were all geniuses. Generally speaking, geniuses had a crazy desire to increase their cultivation base. Especially with Dee's identity, the determination in their hearts was starting to waver. "Do you still dare to believe Dee?" The Dark Emperor knew that he had to speak now. Otherwise, if he was surrounded by so many geniuses, even if he didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin. "Dee is using all of you." The Dark Emperor sorted out his thoughts. "All of you should know how the 4th Elder and 2nd Elder died. Dee always turns his back on them." Initially, the geniuses from the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion wanted to make a move. However, they retreated after hearing the Dark Emperor's words. Just as the Dark Emperor had said, the 4th Elder and 2nd Elder were killed by Dee. If they were killed by De after helping him, wouldn't that be the end of them? It wouldn't be good for them to help someone else count the money after being sold. Good move. De calmed down when he saw the geniuses not making a move. He was terrifyingly calm. Ningyu, I have to admit that you're the strongest genius I've met since I left the Emperor God Palace. You're also the one who forced me to use most of my trump cards. De took a deep breath and took out a storage bag. From today onwards, there will be no more Ningyu in the Great Xia Kingdom. De tossed the storage bag in his hand out as soon as he finished his sentence. The storage bag was so fast that it appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. It was only 10 feet away from Ningyu. Break! Ningyu's eyes narrowed as he swung the red demon sword in his hand. Crack! The storage bag was split in half from the middle. Swoosh! After the storage bag was broken, a green, chilly radiance shot towards Ningyu at a terrifying speed. TSK! TSK! The speed of the chilly radiance was so fast that Yuan Qi dissipated wherever it passed. Power of space. Ningyu's eyes narrowed as he looked at the strand of power of space that was inches away from him, and he could not help but retreat. The speed at which Ningyu retreated was obviously slower than the speed at which the power of space moved. Poof! In the blink of an eye, the chilly radiance arrived in front of Ningyu and entered Ningyu's body through the surface of his skin. Ha ha ha, Ningyu, I have killed at least 9 of the 5 absolute geniuses with that power of space. You are the 10th. De laughed maniacally as he saw the chilly radiance enter Ningyu's body. Is that so? Ningyu's lips curled up slightly as De's laughter faded. The power of space is not bad, but it's not right for you to use it against me. What's going on? De's mouth was agape as he saw that Ningyu was not affected at all. In the past, he had used the power of space to deal with the 5 absolute geniuses, and it had always been very effective. Almost none of the 5 absolute geniuses who had the same cultivation as him could withstand the power of space. What kind of freak was Ningyu? How could he withstand the power of space? Come out. With a thought, Ningyu opened his mouth and spat out the power of space in his body. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu controlled the power of space and said calmly, I wonder what will happen if I use your power of space against you. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. De's face was filled with disbelief as he hurriedly performed a spell to control the power of space. However, no matter how hard De tried, the power of space remained suspended above Ningyu's palm and showed no signs of moving. It's over. At this moment, De's face was filled with disappointment and even despair. Chapter 11:25. Palace Master. Let's go. De was not a hothead. On the contrary, he was very smart. Since Ningyu had taken away the spatial power, he would not have a good ending if he stayed any longer. The spatial power was a very scary thing. De did not have absolute confidence in going against it, so he chose to retreat immediately. Buzz. He left as soon as he said he would, without the slightest bit of hesitation. His body gradually turned illusory, and he disappeared in an instant. You want to leave? Not so easy. Ningyu's eyes flashed coldly. He flicked his wrist and threw out the spatial power. Crack! The spatial power tore through the void and entered. Ah! Not long after, there was a shriek that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. De's vicious words were accompanied by the screams of agony. Ningyu! Just you wait. I'll let you live for another 3 days. The voice became softer and softer until it completely disappeared. Retreat. Since De had left, there was no need for the 2 Grade 8 human supremes who were fighting with the Sword of Evil to stay. They looked at each other and forced the Sword of Evil and Xialan away. They tore through the void and disappeared in an instant. Go! Go after them! The Dark Emperor shouted when he saw De and the others leaving. There would be endless trouble if they did not silence them. The Dark Emperor could not sleep well when he was targeted by an unparalleled genius from God Emperor Palace and 2 grade 8 human supremes. Chase your ass. Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor and spat out a mouthful of blood. Are you alright? The Dark Emperor's mouth was slightly agape. I'm fine. Di's injuries are a few times worse than mine. At the very least, he won't be able to attack us for the time being. Ningyu wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth. Is he really that powerful? Venerable Talisman Marshal's face revealed a shocked expression as he spoke hesitantly. The Talisman Marshal Supremacy knew Ningyu's strength very well. Even Ningyu could not defeat De. This showed how powerful De was. Let's not talk about this for now. Ningyu knew what was more important. To them, the most important thing was not to discuss how powerful De was, but to think of a way to solve the problem in front of them. The dozens of geniuses from the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion were still in the courtyard. If they were dealt with well, then they would be a rare and important force. But if they weren't dealt with well, then the consequences would be unimaginable. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu's gaze swept across the numerous genius martial artists, and then he said in a deep voice, "There are 2 paths before you. First, obey me. Second," Ningyu did not continue, but his meaning was self-evident. The 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion had chased him for so long, and he had nearly been killed by their martial artists several times. Ningyu couldn't let the tiger return to the mountain when he had the strength, because he wasn't a saint. "What right do you have to order us?" A young grade 2 supreme martial artist dressed in green said coldly. "What the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion wants to do has nothing to do with you." Yes, what the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion wants to do has nothing to do with you. If you know what's good for you, then scram. Otherwise, we'll teach you a lesson. That's right. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have a grade 8 supreme martial artist. What's an grade 8 supreme martial artist? We can kill him if we want. For some unknown reason, the geniuses from the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion suddenly changed their minds and began to oppose Ningyu. This was something that Ningyu did not expect. There was no reason for them not to make a move when De was around. Now that De was gone, they began to oppose him. No. Suddenly, Ningyu's pupils shrank. He grabbed the Dark Emperor and Venerable Talisman Marshal and quickly retreated. Rumble. Just as Ningyu and the others took a few steps back, the area they were originally in exploded and the ground caved in. Damn it! With a low roar, Ningyu hurriedly extended his senses. Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air as soon as he saw it. De did not leave. You're smart. Pushing the crowd aside, De slowly appeared in Ningyu's line of sight. There are grade 8 elixirs in here. I'll help you block the grade 8 supreme martial artist on Ningyu's side. As long as you can land a punch on Ningyu, I'll reward you with an elixir. De took out a jade bottle and said, "I'll reward you with a bottle of elixir if you severely injure Ningyu." Whoosh. Most of the geniuses from the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion were low-level supreme martial artists, and grade 8 elixir was extremely tempting to them. With a grade 8 elixir, they could even improve further and increase their cultivation by a level. Good move. Ningyu glanced at the collapsed ground before his gaze landed on De. Both of us are severely injured. A few grade 8 elixirs could change the outcome of the battle, he said. Hee, I have plenty of grade 8 elixirs. De smiled. There are so many geniuses in the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion. A punch from each of them would be enough to turn you into minced meat. You're too conceited. You didn't even leave after being injured. Ningyu took out a Xingyang elixir and threw it to Xialan. 1 Xingyang elixir should be enough for you to deal with 2 grade 8 supreme martial artists, right? Smack. Xialan caught the Xingyang elixir and threw it into her mouth without hesitation. Crack. The moment the Xingyang elixir entered her mouth, Xialan's aura changed instantly. Even her voice changed. 1 Xingyang elixir to deal with 2 grade 8 supreme martial artists. deal. Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, Xielan dashed into the void with great speed. What's going on? Xielan's sudden change puzzled De. On the surface, Xielan's strength seemed to have increased by quite a bit. I got it! Reality proved that De wasn't as simple as he seemed. In just a few seconds, he thought of a terrifying possibility. There was a powerful being hidden in Xielan's body. When Xielan fought with the Emperor God Palace, she was in her original body and wasn't strong enough. With the Xingyang elixir, the powerful being in Xielan's body started to take control of her body, causing her strength to increase by several-fold. The Xingyang elixir is indeed a good thing. Ningyu was glad that the sapling was still producing Xingyang elixirs. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to get the Palace Lord to help. Even if he did, the Palace Lord wouldn't be able to unleash her full strength. Without the Xingyang elixir, the Palace Lord would only be slightly stronger than Xielan. There should be another 3 days before the next Xingyang elixir is produced. Ningyu probed the storage ring with his perception and murmured, I have to use them sparingly. Every Xingyang elixir used meant one less. Ningyu knew that Dan Puppet's Eastern Expedition Army was in the Elixir Cavern in the capital. When he reached the capital, he still needed Xielan's help to deal with the powerful Dan Puppet. It wouldn't be wise to use up all the Xingyang elixirs now. Chapter 11:26. The first sign of effect, go. All of you charge. Whoever kills Ningyu will be rewarded with a grade 9 medicinal pill. Xielan's forceful attack had forced De to use his trump card. If an 8th grade pill could drive the geniuses of the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion crazy, then a 9th grade pill was enough to drive them crazy to the extreme. Voila! In the face of a 9th grade pill, none of the geniuses of the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion could remain calm. They looked at each other, then rushed out in unison. Dozens of peerless geniuses of the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion had come out in full force. Such a battle array was truly vast. Facing so many geniuses, Ningyu stood still and did nothing. The reason why Ningyu didn't make a move was because the Sword of Evil stepped out from behind him and snorted, "Come if you don't want to die." After he spoke, the Sword of Evil released his aura and pressed down on the many genius cultivators. Pu. The Sword of Evil was an 8th grade human supreme. Under the pressure of his powerful aura, many geniuses retreated, not daring to step forward. Trash, all of you are trash. Seeing that the geniuses of the 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion didn't dare to step forward, De shouted, "Whoever dares to attack first will be rewarded with 2 grade 9 elixirs." Even though De had raised the conditions so high, no one dared to make a move. An 8th grade human sovereign was no joke. Whoever made a move would be killed. City Lord Ling, you go. De looked towards the Lord of Ling Tian City. Me? City Lord Ling pointed at his own nose and said, "I'm only at the Fate State. I'm not going." "Then what do I need you for?" A ferocious look appeared on De's face. He clenched his right fist and punched towards Ling Tian City Lord's heart. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as Ling Tian's City Lord's body flew backwards and heavily crashed onto the ground. At this moment, Ling Tian City's Lord had died in battle. The death of City Lord Ling Tian caused the many geniuses of the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion to feel many emotions. He would die if he attacked, but he would also die if he didn't. Rather than that, he might as well take the risk. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 third-grade Sovereign Realm experts gritted their teeth and instantly charged out. Their target was obviously Ningyu. "I'll fulfill your wish." Ningyu's expression was very ugly. He didn't expect these geniuses to be so crazy. These people are almost brainwashed. Even if you let them go now, they will go against you in the future. Against such a person, there was only one choice, and that was to kill. Whoosh. Although Ningyu had suffered serious injuries, it was still not a problem for him to deal with a 3rd-grade human supreme being. Each of the 3 swords contained a terrifying fluctuation of yuan qi. The sharp red demon sword slashed at the necks of the 3 third-grade Supreme Realm human experts, directly cutting through their tracheas. Bang bang bang! After cutting the trachea, Ningyu threw out 3 punches in a row. Each punch landed on the heart of a third-grade human supreme. In less than a second, 3 third-grade human supremacies were all killed. This situation had a huge impact on the others. He beat the drum of retreat. Many of the geniuses started to beat the drums of retreat and started to retreat. Trash, all of you are trash. Di Yi's expression was extremely ugly. Every time a genius retreated, he would use all his strength to kill him. In just a few seconds, 10 geniuses had already been killed by Di Yi. Although Di Yi is a genius of Divine Emperor Palace, we can't just sit back and wait for our deaths if he wants to kill us. Kill Di Yi and leave this area. We have to kill Di Yi or we will all die. Di Yi's actions had obviously angered the crowd. The geniuses of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion began to work together to fight against Di Yi. Rumble. Countless spells appeared, and there was only one target, Di Yi. Although Di Yi was injured, he was not afraid of so many geniuses. Di Yi took out several ancient scrolls from his robes and tossed them out continuously. Every time a scroll was thrown out, there would inevitably be a rumbling sound and an explosion. Every explosion would be accompanied by the death of a 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion genius. Di Yi had many ancient scrolls with him, so he was not afraid no matter how many geniuses attacked him. Boom! Half an hour later, there were dozens of corpses lying on the ground in the governor's mansion. Di Yi stood in the middle of the crowd with an ugly expression. His plan had failed, and he had suffered instead. There was only one thought in Di Yi's mind, and that was to find an opportunity to kill Ningyu. This is my last chance. I can't be careless. Di Yi touched the last scroll in his pocket and made up his mind to use it at the most suitable opportunity. The last scroll was the most powerful. As long as he could get close to Ningyu, he would have a chance to kill Ningyu. Ningyu, you win. I admit defeat. Di Yi raised his hands above his head and walked towards Ningyu step by step. Di Yi's speed was very, very slow. As long as Ningyu showed any signs of alertness, Di Yi would immediately stop and think of a way to escape. Sword of Evil, go and help Xielon. We don't have much time left. Ningyu did not seem to care about Di Yi at all. He turned around and said to the Sword of Evil beside him. Half an hour had passed, and Xielon's situation was still very tense. Although Xielon had the upper hand in a 1 versus 2 battle, it was still difficult for her to kill 2 experts from Emperor Divine Palace in a short period of time. Be careful. The Sword of Evil glanced at Di Yi before his body gradually turned illusory. In Emperor Divine Palace, there is a cultivation technique called the Emperor Technique. I wonder how many stages you have mastered. Ningyu watched the Sword of Evil disappear before he looked at Di Yi. The Emperor Technique is the highest cultivation technique in Emperor Divine Palace. There are a total of 12 forms, and I have only mastered the 6th form. If you need the Emperor Technique, I can write it down for you, Di Yi said as he walked. Stop. Write down the Emperor Technique. Ningyu took out a jade scroll and threw it to Di Yi. Di Yi suppressed the anger in his heart and said calmly, Please wait for a moment. I have only mastered the first 7 skills of the Emperor God Technique. The Emperor Technique was the most powerful cultivation technique in Emperor Divine Palace. Similar to the Supreme 9 Purities sword skill, the first 6 forms of the Emperor Technique were the most basic cultivation technique. The first 6 forms were mainly for martial artists below the honorable realm to cultivate. Of course, some talented geniuses could start cultivating the 7th, 8th, and even the 9th form when their cultivation was lower than the honorable realm. From the 7th form onward, the power would double. It's not that easy to learn the Emperor Technique from me. A cold glint flashed across Di Yi's eyes and quickly disappeared. The first 6 forms of the Emperor Technique were very ordinary, and De would not tamper with them. As for the seventh form, De could slightly modify it. Moreover, De believed that Ningyu would not be able to find out that he had modified it. Bang! Bang! At this moment, the battle in the sky had ended. With the Sword of Evil's participation, Xielan's pressure was greatly reduced. Chapter 11:27. A stranger comes along, hiss. De couldn't help but gasp when he saw the 2 8th-grade human sovereigns being killed. He was even more determined to make a move on Ningyu. De couldn't deal with Xielan or the Sword of Evil. All he could do now was to gain Ningyu's trust and capture Ningyu to threaten the Sword of Evil and Xielan. However, De didn't dare to reveal his thoughts. Ningyu was a cunning man. If Ningyu found out about his plan, the consequences would be dire. Continue. Ningyu waved his hand when he saw De pause, indicating for him to continue writing the Emperor God technique. As for Ningyu, he came before the 2 8th-grade human sovereigns of the Divine Emperor Palace and bent down to search their bodies. After a while, Ningyu retracted his hand. There was a storage pouch in his hand. Whoosh! Right at this moment, the Dark Emperor's figure flashed explosively, and he flashed past Ningyu at an extremely shocking speed. F***CK. Ningyu knew that something was wrong the moment the Dark Emperor moved. As expected, the Dark Emperor was like a swarm of locusts. Everywhere he passed, there wasn't a single blade of grass left. Ningyu had the urge to curse as he looked at the empty space in front of him. 2 8th-grade human sovereigns were taken away by the Dark Emperor just like that. The Dark Emperor was a sky-devouring hound, known as the Sky-Devouring Hound. He should be able to eat 2 8th-grade human sovereigns. You'll be stuffed to death. Ningyu viciously said to Xielan and the evil sword Venerable Lord, the two of you should hide for this period of time. I will look for you when I need you. I'm fine with it. As long as I have enough Xingyang pills, I can make a move at any time. Xielan's voice was emotionless as she disappeared into the void. Be careful of De. He definitely doesn't have any good intentions. The Sword of Evil glanced at De. Then, his body turned illusory and disappeared. Drip, drip. Time continued to pass. Not long after the Sword of Evil and Xielan disappeared, De said in a clear voice, Ningyu, the first 7 forms of the Emperor technique are all in this jade slip. Cut the crap. Throw the jade slip over. Ningyu interrupted De's words. Whoosh. Without another word, De threw the jade slip at Ningyu. But, steadily catching the jade scroll, Ningyu began to carefully examine it. The Emperor God technique was a terrifying technique that was comparable to the Supreme 9 Purities sword skill. If he could cultivate it to the 7th style, he would have one more method to deal with his enemies in the future. The first 6 moves are very ordinary. Ningyu frowned when he finished looking at the first 6 moves. His hands could not help but move along with the first style of the Emperor God technique. The Supreme 9 Purities sword skill used flying swords as a medium. But the Emperor God technique was different. Anything could be used as a medium. As Ningyu waved his hands, the spiritual qi in front of him began to gather in a certain area. When the spiritual qi gathered to its peak, it turned into a sharp sword and shot out. Crack! The sharp sword slammed into the ground, creating a hole in the incomparably hard ground. De's jaw dropped when he saw Ningyu's action. He was dumbfounded. He had successfully cultivated the first style of the Emperor God technique just like that? One had to know that he had used several days to cultivate the first style of the Emperor God technique. Ningyu's success in cultivating in just a few minutes was simply unprecedented and unparalleled. The first style is too weak. Let's try the second style. After thinking about it, Ningyu felt that since he had already cultivated the first style, he might as well cultivate the second style as well. After all, the first 6 styles of the Emperor God technique were not difficult for him. Rumble. Ningyu had a special characteristic. He would definitely accomplish something that he had decided on. He would never give up halfway. After recalling the cultivation method of the second style in his mind, Ningyu began to cultivate it. 5 minutes later, he had successfully cultivated the second style. Another 5 minutes later, he had successfully cultivated the third style. Gulp. When De first saw Ningyu's insane cultivation speed, he was a little confused. However, as Ningyu began to cultivate the second and third style, De changed his mind. He wanted Ningyu to cultivate the seventh style as soon as possible. This was because he did not tamper with the first 6 styles. When it came to the seventh style, he had changed a secret formula. If Ningyu dared to cultivate according to the formula, he would definitely go berserk. Cultivate, the faster the better. When you go berserk, that will be the time I catch you. De focused all his attention on Ningyu. He did not dare to relax at all. Boom, boom, boom. The speed at which Ningyu cultivated the Emperor God technique was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. Although the speed at which he cultivated the last few styles decreased slightly, he only took an hour to completely cultivate the first 6 styles. The seventh style of the Emperor God technique, Emperor Destruction. The seventh style of the Emperor God technique was called Emperor Destruction. This style was a little difficult to understand just by looking at it. It seems a little different. Ningyu frowned slightly and closed his eyes. He began to derive the seventh style of the Emperor God technique. Although he could not completely derive the cultivation method of the seventh style of the Emperor God technique, with Ningyu's experience from his previous life, it was not a problem to derive the general direction of cultivation. Something's wrong. After half an hour of derivation, Ningyu's face turned extremely ugly. Did he find out something? De's heart skipped a beat when he saw the change in Ningyu's expression. Ningyu, I have only mastered the seventh style of the Emperor God technique. If you need the next few styles, you'll have to return to the Emperor God Palace with me. I swear on my honor that as long as you return to the Emperor God Palace with me, I will definitely find a way to get the cultivation method of the 8th style for you. I don't trust your character. Ningyu threw the jade slip in his hand at De's feet and said, "This is your last chance. Tell me what's wrong with the 7th style and I will spare your life. Otherwise..." Ningyu paused and pointed at the geniuses of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. "Your fate will be the same as theirs. The cultivation method of the 7th style is real." De clenched his teeth. "Why would I lie to you? I will never lie to you." De slowly approached Ningyu as he spoke. "Just a little more, just a little more." De's joy grew with every step he took. If he wanted to launch a sneak attack on Ningyu in his current state, he would have to get closer and closer. Swoosh. Coincidentally, the Dark Emperor flew over from outside the courtyard. Moreover, the Dark Emperor was holding a living person in his hand. No, to be precise, the person he was holding was not a person, but a pill puppet. Ningyu, this pill puppet was sneaking past Ling Tian City, and I happened to see him, so I caught him and brought him back. Chapter 11:28. A Moment of Crisis from Danwu College? Hearing the Dark Emperor's words, Ningyu frowned slightly, and faintly felt that something was amiss. The stronghold of the Eastern Expedition Army in the Pill Cavern was the Pill Cavern of Danwu College. Now that a powerful Dan Hua had come out of Danwu College, it meant that there was a high possibility that the Eastern Expedition Army had occupied Danwu College. At the thought of this, Ningyu's aura locked onto Dan Qi, who was caught by the Dark Emperor, and said in a deep voice, "What's the situation at Danwu College now?" "Humph. If I'm not wrong, you should be Ningyu." Pill Puppet snorted and sinisterly said, "The Eastern Expedition Army's #1 enemy is you. No matter where you go, you'll be surrounded by them." But the Dark Emperor could not bear to see this Dan Gu's arrogance. His tail twitched and slapped this Dan Gu's cheek. There was no justice in this world for a prisoner to be so arrogant. Think of a way to pry his mouth open. I want to know the situation of Danwu College, and what kind of experts there are in the Eastern Expedition Army. Ning Yu was now irreconcilable with the Eastern Expedition Army. If the Eastern Expedition Army didn't die, then he would. Therefore, Ning Yu would not hold back against this Grade 2 human sovereign Dan puppet. If not for the fact that he still had some use, Ning Yu would have killed him long ago. There was no way he would have kept him alive until now. Good chance. While Ning Yu was off guard, De was only 10 feet away from Ning Yu. This distance was enough for De to throw the ancient scroll and deal a fatal blow to Ning Yu. Whoosh! De reached into his robes and took out an ancient scroll. With a flick of his wrist, he threw the scroll at Ning Yu with all his might. As the scroll was imbued with a trace of De's spiritual power, it was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Ning Yu. Explode! De shouted when he saw the scroll approaching Ning Yu. De's expression became uglier and uglier. From the initial joy and excitement, he was now dumbfounded. The ancient scroll he threw seemed to have lost contact with him and did not explode. I'm curious, isn't it? Ning Yu's figure flashed and he firmly grabbed the ancient scroll in his hand. He said indifferently, I've isolated your soul power from the scroll. So no matter how much you use your soul power, the scroll won't explode. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. De's eyes widened as fear filled his face. Haha, nothing is impossible. Have you forgotten about the power of space that I control? With a smile, Ning Yu controlled De's spatial power and wrapped it around his wrist. How is this possible? De's jaw dropped as he stared at the familiar spatial power in Ning Yu's hands. He clearly remembered that when he left just now, Ning Yu had already thrown out the power of space to deal with him. Why would the power of space still be in Ning Yu's hands? I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to grasp it. In that case, I can only send you on your way. With a cold glint in his eyes, Ning Yu stomped on the ground and dashed out. Ning Yu's speed was so fast that before De could react, he realized that there was a blood-red flying sword in his heart. De pointed at Ning Yu as he looked at the red flying sword in his heart. If you dare to kill me, the Emperor Palace will never let you off. I'm not sure if the Emperor Palace will let me off, but I know that I won't let you off, Ning Yu said calmly. De's face was filled with despair as he spat out a mouthful of blood and died on the spot. I've forced him out. As soon as De died, the Dark Emperor shouted, the Eastern Expedition Army has yet to leave the Pill Cavern. They are still gathering. The first batch of 10 second-grade Supreme Martial Artists came out of the Pill Cavern. Their goal is to find out where we are and pass the news to the higher-ups of the Eastern Expedition Army. How much time do we have left? Ning Yu asked. 3 days. The Dark Emperor's expression was solemn. The first batch of 10 pill puppets is to find out where we are. 3 days later, the main force of the Eastern Expedition Army will be mobilized to wipe out the Great Xia Kingdom. There's no time to lose. Let's head to the capital immediately. Ning Yu did not procrastinate at all and left as soon as he said he would. The matter of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion had come to an end for now. As for whether the Emperor Palace would become his enemy, it was not something he could consider now. Most importantly, he had to rush back to the capital and destroy the Pill Cavern in Danwu College before the Eastern Expedition Army was fully out. That was the only way to cut off the connection between the Eastern Expedition Army and the Great Xia Kingdom, so that they would not be able to launch an effective attack on the Great Xia Kingdom in a short period of time. But what should we do with so many supreme martial artists? The Dark Emperor pointed at the geniuses who had died around them and asked doubtfully. I'll inform Xiechong and the rest of the Lingtian market to come and deal with it. After saying that, Ning Yu stomped on the ground and dashed out immediately. The others are all useless. We can't let De go to waste. The Dark Emperor's eyes darted around as he quickly came before De and used a secret technique to devour him. After devouring De, the Dark Emperor retreated in satisfaction. Crack! What Ning Yu and the rest did not know was that in a dark palace in the heavenly devil domain, a middle-aged man slapped the chair he was sitting on and said coldly, "Investigate. We must find out who killed De at all costs. There are less than 3 months left until the next genius battle on the Dark Moon continent. Who would dare to make a move on the Emperor Divine Palace at this time? How audacious!" Swish, swish, swish. As the middle-aged man's voice fell, the surrounding space shook. The shaking did not last for long as everything returned to normal. The Genius Tournament that is held once every few years is organized by the Mystic Moon Sect, a top force in the Mystic Moon continent. The Emperor Palace can't waste such a great opportunity. We have to plan it well. After taking a deep breath, the middle-aged man's figure gradually turned illusory and disappeared in an instant. Dean Mu, you have to make up your mind quickly. Should we stay or leave? At the same time, in the conference hall of Danwu College, a few martial artists were arguing fiercely. The Black Widow, the Black and White Heroes, Old Ancestor Jiuemo, Dong He, and 3 to 4 other Grade 1 Supreme Martial Artists, who were on the same cultivation base as Dong He. Mu Feng sat on the main seat of the conference hall with a gloomy expression. "Dean Mu, what I mean is to evacuate all the martial artists in the capital and think of a way to block the Pill Cave." Dong He frowned slightly and said, "I've already thought of a way to contact the people from the headquarters of the Alchemist Union. They've decided to send people over to help deal with the pill puppet. No, the headquarters of the Alchemist Union is thousands of miles away from here. By the time they arrive, it will be too late." The Black Widow said in a deep voice, "In my opinion, we should do as you said just now. Evacuate everyone in the capital and abandon Danwu College." "Sigh, that's the only way." Chapter 11:29. Dan's possession crack. As soon as Mu Feng's voice fell, the door of the conference hall was blasted open by a huge force. Swoosh, then, several figures appeared in the conference hall. Hiss! Mu Feng and the rest gasped when they sensed the auras emitted by these people. Supreme Realm. 3rd-grade human supremes. The cultivation of these people were all at the 3rd-grade sovereign realm. There were 10 of them. No, you're Dan puppets. As an alchemist, Dong He's eyes were sharp. With a single glance, he could tell that the 10 in front of him were not humans, but Dan puppets. 10 3rd-grade mortal sovereign realm pellet puppet. Such a formation made Dong He's heart sink to the bottom. Not to mention 10 3rd-grade human supremes, even if there was only one, they would not be able to contend against it. Moreover, they had already sealed the entrance of the Pill Cave. How could these Dan puppets leave? Could it be that the seal they had set up was ineffective? Gather all the Yin-Yang realm and above cultivators of Danwu College into this hall. The black-clothed pill puppet leader did not care about what Dong He was thinking. He said in a deep voice, "I will give you 5 minutes. If you cannot gather all the Yin-Yang realm and above martial artists in 5 minutes, the only outcome for you is death. Go." Rumble! The roar of the Dan puppet almost burst the eardrums of Mu Feng and the rest. They had no choice but to lower their heads. Mu Feng could only follow their request and gather all the Yin-Yang realm and above cultivators. Dong He, think of a way to inform Ningyu. After leaving the conference hall, Mu Feng hurriedly transmitted his voice to Dong He. Inform Ningyu? He's not even a supreme realm. Are we sending him to his death? Dong He asked doubtfully. The last time Ningyu left Danwu College, his cultivation had not reached the supreme realm. Only a short time had passed. Dong He did not believe that Ningyu had advanced to the supreme realm. Moreover, even if Ningyu advanced to the utmost exalted realm, it would still be of no use. The danger this time was extremely great. Just like that, 10 third-grade human sovereign realm pellet puppets had appeared. One could imagine how powerful the later ones would be. What was the difference between letting Ning Yu come back and sending him to his death? I can't contact Ning Yu. Dong He continued. You can first contact your disciple, Duan Qing. Duan Qing has always been with Ning Yu. He should understand Ning Yu's situation. Mu Feng hurriedly said. Ning Yu was a scheming person. Previously, when Danwu College faced a huge crisis, Ning Yu was able to resolve it perfectly. Although the crisis this time was much greater than before, Mu Feng still decided to contact Ning Yu first. He had to be confident. What if there really was a chance? Alright. Since Mu Feng strongly requested it, Dong He could only force out a drop of blood essence and start communicating with Duan Qing. What? 3 minutes later, Dong He revealed an extremely shocked expression. What's going on? Mu Feng asked in confusion. Gulp. After swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Dong He's face was filled with disbelief. Duan Qing is on his way to the capital. Moreover, Duan Qing mentioned Ning Yu's strength. Mentioned Ning Yu's strength? Just how strong is he? Don't beat around the bush. Mu Feng said anxiously. Killing a peak 6th grade human sovereign with his bare hands is not difficult. Even Dong He himself felt that it was a little unbelievable when he said that. Killing a peak 6th grade human sovereign with his bare hands was too terrifying. Are you sure you're not joking with me? Mu Feng couldn't believe his ears. If it wasn't Dong He who said that, Mu Feng would even think that he was a fool who had lost his mind. Why would I joke with you? As long as we hold on for a few more hours, Duan Qing will rush back. No matter what, it was better to have hope than nothing. There were only 10 third-grade human sovereign elixirs in the conference hall. If Ning Yu was really that powerful by the time he arrived, this crisis would be... Rumble. At this moment, an earth-shattering rumble came from the forbidden area of Danwu College. Rumble. The rumble grew louder and louder, spreading in all directions. The rumble lasted for a full hour before it completely dissipated. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After the rumble dissipated, several figures tore through the void and landed in the conference hall of Danwu College. What should we do? In Danwu College, Mu Feng's mouth was agape. What else can we do? Dong He said with a gloomy expression. Before he could finish his sentence, Dong He felt his body lighten and was sent flying. Like Dong He, Mu Feng was also sent flying. The two of them were flying in the direction of the Danwu Academy's assembly hall. Bang! Bang! Not long after, Mu Feng and Dong He landed heavily in the conference hall of Danwu College. The conference hall had already changed its appearance. Black Widow, Old Ancestor Zhou Mo, and the other supremes of the Alchemy Association were all kneeling on the ground, trembling in fear. On both sides of the hall stood over a dozen Supreme Being pill puppets. On the seat of honor, a 20 to 30-year-old elixir puppet squinted his eyes and said, "I'll give you guys a chance to live." The young elixir puppet swept his gaze across Mu Feng and the others and continued. "I'll give you 2 hours. I want to see Ning Yu in 2 hours. Ning Yu." Mu Feng's jaw dropped when he heard the young elixir puppet's words. He was in disbelief. This Dan Qi in front of him was at least a grade 4 human sovereign. Did he have a grudge against Ning Yu? Haha, Ning Yu killed many elixir puppets. He must die. The young elixir puppet smiled and said, "If Ning Yu doesn't die, you guys will die. Between you and Ning Yu, you have to choose one." Swish. The young elixir puppet's words made the hearts of Mu Feng and the others sink to the bottom. What the hell was that? If Ning Yu didn't die, they would have to die. If they died, Ning Yu could live. This logic didn't make sense at all. Right, call all the Yin-Yang realm cultivators of Danwu College over. We have a use for them. After a brief pause, the young elixir puppet continued. Danwu College might not have enough elixir puppets. Call all the Yin-Yang realm cultivators of the capital over. What are you guys trying to do? Mu Feng said in a deep voice. He didn't do as the young elixir puppet said. What? Haha, since you want to know, I'll tell you. The corner of the young elixir puppet's mouth rose as he signaled to his left and right. Crack! The figures of the 2 4th-grade human sovereigns beside the young elixir puppet flashed and instantly appeared beside the supremacy realm cultivators of the Alchemy Union. Their hands rose and their palms fell. The 2 supremacy realm cultivators of the Alchemy Union died on the spot. Buzz. Then, the 2 4th-grade human sovereign elixir puppets turned into shadows and entered the bodies of the supremacy realm cultivators of the Alchemy Union. Swish. Chapter 1130. Qi Gongming, Possession. Dan Ming's Possession. Mu Feng's pupils shrank as an expression of extreme fear appeared on his face. No wonder the young Dan Ming would ask them to gather all the Yin-Yang stage cultivators in the capital. It turned out that he wanted to use the Yin-Yang stage cultivators for possession. Since most of the Dan Ming's cultivation was in the sovereign realm, ordinary Yuan Dan realm cultivators wouldn't be able to withstand the impact of their possession. Most of the Yuan Dan realm cultivators had weaker physique. If the one being possessed was a Yuan Dan realm cultivator, he would have died from his body exploding. What are you waiting for? Gather all the Yin-Yang stage cultivators in the capital, or I'll possess you as well. Seeing that Mu Feng was still in a daze, the young Dan Ming unleashed his aura. Under the pressure of the young Dan Ming's aura, even Dong He, who was in the sovereign realm, vomited a mouthful of blood. Since you don't know how to cherish it, then I'll send you to heaven. Slowly shaking his head, the young Dan Ming slammed his hands on the chair beneath him and charged forward. Swish! The young Dan Ming's speed was extremely fast as he arrived before Mu Feng in the blink of an eye. A fist brought along a violent gale as it flew towards Mu Feng's head. The might of the young Dan Ming's fist was extremely powerful. If Mu Feng was unlucky enough to be struck by it, he would definitely die. It's over. Looking at the approaching young Dan Ming, Mu Feng only had these 2 words in his mind. He was only in the manifestation realm, while the young Dan Ming was at least in the 4th-grade sovereign realm. The difference in their cultivation was too great that he didn't even have the courage to resist. You want to send Dean Mu to heaven? However, before the young Dan Ming's fist landed on Mu Feng's body, a faint voice resounded from the void. Not good. Hearing the voice, the young Dan Ming's eyes narrowed as he immediately gave up on attacking Mu Feng and retreated. You want to leave? Not so easy. A cold snort resounded from the void once again. Space split apart as a figure flew out from the void and charged towards the young Dan Ming at an astonishing speed. Swish! Swish! As the young Dan Ming retreated, the 2 4th-grade sovereign Dan Ming that had successfully possessed Mu Feng made their move. Each of them threw a punch that collided with the figure in the void. Kacha! Kacha! 2 crisp sounds rang out. Soon after, 2 miserable shrieks came out from the mouths of the 4th-grade human sovereign realm pill puppets. At this moment, 2 4th-grade human Supreme Dan puppets were killed on the spot. Buzz. After Dan Qi died in battle, the void cracked again, and several figures appeared in the hall. Ning Yu. Looking at the familiar figure standing in the middle of the hall, Mu Feng's mouth was agape, his face filled with confusion. Ning Yu. The one who saved him just now was Ning Yu. As for those martial artists behind Ning Yu, other than the Dark Emperor, Mu Feng did not recognize a single one of them. Although Mu Feng didn't know Ning Yu, he was very clear that now that Ning Yu had appeared and killed 2 4th-grade Supreme Realm Dan puppets, it meant that there was a high possibility that they could be saved. You're Ning Yu. The young Dan Shin's eyes locked onto Ning Yu and he said in a deep voice, "There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There's no door to hell, but you barge in." Whoosh! As the young Dan Shin's voice fell, all the Dan puppets in the hall moved out and surrounded Ning Yu and the others. "You want to kill me with these nobodies?" Ningyu pointed at the surrounding Dan puppets with his right hand and said indifferently, I don't even need to do anything to deal with these Dan puppets. Ah. The young Dan puppet laughed wildly and said coldly, Aren't you afraid of cutting your tongue? Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue by boasting? I, Qi Gongming, shall see just what you are going to use to kill this pill puppet army. The ignorant are fearless. Ningyu shrugged and turned to the sword of evil and said, Don't leave anyone alive, kill them all. Whoosh. The sword of evil did not reply to Ningyu. His figure gradually turned illusory and eventually disappeared. Are you sure you're not here to joke around? Qi Gongming opened his mouth and asked doubtfully, This martial artist's cultivation is at most. Qi Gongming's mouth fell open and his body froze on the spot. Because what happened next was completely out of his expectations. All the Dan puppets in the entire conference hall, be they first-grade human supremes, fourth-grade and fifth-grade human supremes, were all killed in just 1 minute. Gulp. Qi Gongming swallowed a mouthful of saliva and was dumbfounded. What was the cultivation of this friend that Ningyu brought? How could he be so strong? Qi Gongming, the leader of the Eastern Expedition Army's vanguard to attack the Great Xia Kingdom, Grade 4 Supreme. The death of the surrounding Dan puppets did not affect Ningyu at all. He said indifferently, The leader of the Eastern Expedition Army decided to conquer the Great Xia Kingdom because he was afraid that all the martial artists in the Mystic Moon continent would unite to deal with the Dan puppets, so he decided to use a scheme to conquer the Great Xia Kingdom. It's a pity that your plan is going to fail. Is that so? At this moment, another indifferent voice came from the void. Hearing this voice, Ningyu's face turned extremely solemn. Just from the voice, Ningyu could tell that the owner's cultivation was no lower than Grade 8 Supreme. Crack! The space beside Qi Gongming suddenly broke, and an old man in gray clothes revealed his face. Peak early 8th grade human supreme. As Ningyu expected, the old man's cultivation was no lower than Grade 8 Supreme, but a peak early 8th grade human supreme. In fact, he was only a step away from advancing to the intermediate 8th grade human supreme. In a sense, the old man's battle prowess was no weaker than that of the sword of evil. It was even possible that he was stronger than the sword of evil. Uncle Wu. Qi Gongming's face lit up when he saw the old man in gray. He hurriedly said, This is Ningyu. Quick, capture him. Nonsense. The old man in gray glared at Qi Gongming and said in a deep voice, The Eastern Expedition Army thinks highly of you and let you be the vanguard, but you made things so awkward. Don't say anything without my permission. Qi Gongming opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he held back his words in the end. He had indeed messed things up. The Eastern Expedition Army's plan was to split up and not gather all the Yinyang realm cultivators to Danwu College. Now that the first batch of Dan Ho had all died, even Uncle Wu couldn't protect him. Ningyu, I'll definitely turn you into ashes. Qi Gongming stared at Ningyu and secretly made up his mind to kill Ningyu no matter what. He would skin him alive and pull out his tendons. The reason why he was in such a miserable state was all because of Ningyu. If Ningyu hadn't sent people to kill so many Dan Ho, he wouldn't have been scolded by Uncle Wu. Chapter 1131. To catch a turtle in a jar. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Wu Hai, Qi Gongming's uncle. The gray-robed old man turned around and stared at Ningyu. He said in a deep voice, There are 2 paths in front of you. First, open your mind and let me control you. Second, at this point, Wu Hai's eyes became extremely cold, and he suddenly unleashed his aura. Chi. Wu Hai's aura was extremely terrifying, so terrifying that even the sword of evil could not help but take a few steps back. 8th grade middle human supreme martial artist. At this moment, Ningyu realized that Wu Hai's cultivation wasn't at the initial phase 8th grade sovereign realm, but a genuine middle phase 8th grade sovereign realm. Die. As Wu Hai uttered the word die, an even more terrifying aura soared into the sky. Xiao! The aura made a turn in midair, and then, with a shocking speed, charged towards Ningyu. Not good! Feeling Wu Hai's terrifying aura rushing towards him, Ningyu's expression changed greatly. He immediately stomped on the ground and retreated. However, the speed of Ningyu's retreat was clearly slower by half a beat. Wu Hai's aura of a mid-8th grade human supreme instantly arrived beside him. Bang! The terrifying aura directly forced Ningyu to the corner. His body slammed into the wall, producing a crisp sound. Damn it! Everything happened too quickly, and Ningyu had no way to put up an effective resistance. Seeing Wu Hai's aura rush out once more, Ningyu cursed inwardly. He hastily wrapped the essence in his knowledge sea around his wrist and punched out. Out of the way! At this critical moment, the sword of evil dashed forward. In the blink of an eye, he arrived before Ningyu, helping Ningyu block Wu Hai's aura. Pucci! Wu Hai's cultivation was at the 8th grade intermediate human supreme realm, while the sword of evil had only recovered to the 8th grade initial human supreme realm. With the sword of evil's current strength, it was impossible for him to withstand Wu Hai's aura. The sword of evil spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His body swayed a little, and he was on the verge of collapsing. He can't even withstand a single blow. After succeeding in his attack, Wu Hai did not continue to attack. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, I really don't know how the medium war saints and the others died. All of you, open your minds and let me control them. Otherwise, you will all die a horrible death. You're not qualified to kill us. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the sword of evil said in a deep voice, Xielan, let's work together and kill this old fart. Ah! Wu Hai raised his head and laughed. Shortly after, he changed the topic and coldly said, You're an initial phase 8th grade sovereign, and that Xielan is also an initial phase 8th grade sovereign. The two of you will also be courting death if you join hands. Whether it's courting death or not, we'll only know after a battle. Xielan's tone was emotionless as she continued, If I've guessed correctly, you've just advanced to intermediate phase 8th grade sovereign, and your aura isn't too stable. If you forcefully make a move, you might cause a backlash. Backlash? What's that? Let me tell you the truth. For initial phase 8th grade sovereigns like you, I'll kill as many as you come. Wu Hai's brows twitched as he eerily said, We'll only know after a battle. Xielan's gaze turned cold as she took the lead and charged out to fight with Wu Hai. Crack! Seeing that Xielan had made a move, the sword of evil crushed a royal grade origin crystal and instantly flew out to join the battle. Rumble! The conference hall of Danwu College wasn't particularly big. Wu Hai and the rest were all 8th grade sovereigns. Thus, the commotion from their battle was massive. The conference hall was so small that it definitely couldn't withstand the shockwaves from their battle. Xielan and the Sword of Evil had intentionally shifted the battle to the sky. Someone's fighting. Who is it? I don't think they're from Danwu College. They're indeed not from Danwu College. However, their cultivation should be pretty high. That's right. Two of them had perfect control over their strength every time they attacked, preventing the shockwaves from spreading. Let's hurry up and inform the dean to bang. Right at this moment, a cultivator was thrown out of Danwu College's conference hall. Dean! It's the dean. The dean seems to be injured. This is Danwu College. Who dares to attack the dean? That's right. They must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's gall to even dare to attack the dean. Hurry up and inform the elders. The cultivator who was thrown out of the conference hall was none other than Mu Feng. Bang, bang, bang. Following closely behind Mu Feng were the Black Widow, Black-White Double Ghosts, Old Ancestor Joemo, and the rest. In the end, even Yun Mu was thrown out. Gulp. The The surrounding Danwu College students swallowed a mouthful of saliva when they sensed the supremacy realm aura emanating from Yunmu's body. Yunmu's cultivation was more than a level higher than Mu Feng's. Since even Yunmu was thrown out, it wasn't surprising that Mu Feng was thrown out as well. Who can tell me what's going on? You're asking me? Who the F***ck should I ask? Based on the current situation, someone must have made a move on Danwu College. They're trying to wipe out Danwu College in one fell swoop. Even the dean has been injured. What's the point of us going forward? Inform the rest of Danwu College to evacuate as soon as possible. The last cultivator who spoke was a peak Yin-Yang realm elder from Danwu College. His name was Zhang Jiao. In Danwu College, apart from Mu Feng and old ancestor Jiuemo, Zhang Jiao's cultivation was the highest. Below the manifestation realm, his cultivation was the highest. Zhang Jiao's words still had some effect. After all, Zhang Jiao's status in Danwu College was very high. Right, let's evacuate quickly. It'll be too late if we don't leave now. Could it be that the Danwu Academy is going to face another catastrophe? If it weren't for Ningyu, Danwu College would have been destroyed in the previous catastrophe. Will Ningyu show up this time? What's the use of showing up? Even a supremacy realm cultivator was injured. Even if Ningyu comes, he'll only be sending himself to his death. What nonsense are you talking about? Leave Danwu College as far as you can, Zhang Jiao berated. Leave? As soon as Zhang Jiao's berating voice rang out, a faint voice came from the surroundings. Buzz. Immediately, an illusory figure appeared in front of Zhang Jiao. Qi Gongming. This cultivator was Qi Gongming. Haha, your hope, Ningyu, can't even protect himself now. How can he help you? Qi Gongming smiled and said, if Ningyu can survive the encirclement of 2 intermediate grade 7 human supremacies, I'll twist my head off. As for you guys, don't even think about leaving. Swish. As Qi Gongming's voice fell, several figures suddenly appeared in the surroundings. Dan Lin. All of them were grade 1 human supremacy Dan Lin. Seal off Danwu College. Don't let anyone in without my permission. Qi Gongming's lips curled up as he said coldly, I'll be catching a turtle in a jar for the next period of time. TSK, just thinking about it makes me a little excited. Who should I start with? Qi Gongming furrowed his brows, as if he was thinking about something. Chapter 1132. Who exactly are you? Why are you going against Danwu College? In order not to cause panic, Zhang Jiao pretended to be calm. Zhang Jiao was at the peak of Yin-Yang realm. He could clearly tell that he was no match for Qi Gongming. Zhang Jiao was at the peak of Yin-Yang realm. He could clearly tell that he was no match for Qi Gongming. The difference between the two was worlds apart. They were not on the same order of magnitude at all. If Qi Gongming wanted to kill him, all he needed to do was move his fingers. However, in order to buy time for the students of Danwu College to escape, Zhang Jiao stomped on the ground and charged straight at Qi Gongming. There's a way out for you, but you chose to barge into hell instead. Qi Gongming smiled, clenched his right fist, and pushed it out. Bang! Although Qi Gongming didn't use his full strength in this punch, it was still very easy to kill a martial artist at the peak of Yin-Yang realm like Zhang Jiao. Qi Gongming's fist landed on his chest, and Zhang Jiao's body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. A crisp sound was heard, and Zhang Jiao fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Run! Zhang Jiao shouted with the last bit of his strength. Swoosh! The students of Danwu College weren't fools. They knew that Zhang Jiao was using his life to buy time for them. They had to leave as soon as possible. If they were late, Zhang Jiao's death would be meaningless. Want to leave? Qi Gongming raised his eyebrows, and his figure gradually turned illusory. Crack! In the next few minutes, Qi Gongming shuttled through the crowd. Wherever he went, the situation changed, and all the students of Danwu College were killed. Only a minute had passed since Qi Gongming made his move. However, in this 1 minute, dozens of students of Danwu College were killed. This number was under the premise that Qi Gongming didn't use his full strength. One could imagine that once Qi Gongming used his full strength, none of the students around him would survive. I'll give you a chance now. Scatter. All of you, scatter. After killing dozens of students, Qi Gongming stopped and said loudly, "In the next half an hour, I'll play the role of the cat and you'll be the mouse. Let's have a game of cat and mouse. Run! Yes, let's leave quickly. It'll be too late if we delay any longer. Devil! This man is a devil. We must leave immediately. We must leave Danwu College. Go, go, go!" When the students of Danwu College heard Qi Gongming's words, they felt as if they had been pardoned from a crime and scattered in all directions. Zhang Jiao was at the pinnacle of the Yinyang realm, and even he couldn't kill him in one move. If they stayed, they would definitely die. "Hide them well, I'm going to catch them one by one." After the students left, Qi Gongming smirked and said sinisterly, "Who are you going to catch?" Before Qi Gongming could finish his sentence, a faint voice rang in his ears. "Who is it?" Hearing this voice, Qi Gongming's heart trembled, and he hurriedly turned around to look. Qi Gongming's jaw dropped, and his face was filled with bewilderment. Ningyu. The martial artist who spoke was none other than Ningyu. Qi Gongming was very puzzled. Wasn't Ningyu fighting with 2 7th-grade middle human supremes? How could he still be free? Something's not right. Suddenly, Qi Gongming seemed to have thought of something, and a smear of astonishment appeared in his eyes. "What did you do to those 2 7th-grade middle human supremes?" Qi Gongming's eyes turned cold as he barked, "Those two are Uncle Wu's protectors. What does that have to do with me?" Ningyu's tone was cold as he swept his gaze across the surroundings. 32 corpses. Very good. You've killed 32 students of Danwu College. Including Zhang Jiao and the 2 Supremes in the conference hall, you've killed a total of 35 people. Ha ha ha! Qi Gongming laughed maniacally. "So what if it's 35 people? To tell you the truth, you're going to die today. All of you, come out. Rumble!" Qi Gongming seemed to have expected this. As his maniacal laughter rang out, the surrounding void suddenly exploded, and 5 figures appeared. Late 7th-grade middle human supremes. The 5 figures that suddenly appeared were all late 7th-grade middle human supremes, and 2 of them were even a step away from peak 7th-grade middle human supremes. "Ningyu, you can kill Danming, a 7th-grade middle human supremes, but I don't believe you can kill late 7th-grade middle human supremes." Twisting his neck, Qi Gongming said coldly, "This day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Dark Emperor, Talisman Supremacy, go and kill the other Danming of Danwu College." Without answering Qi Gongming's words immediately, Ningyu turned around and said, "If necessary, you can devour them." Understood. This was the moment the Dark Emperor was waiting for. As soon as Ningyu's voice landed, he rose from the ground and galloped back and forth in Danwu College. As for Talisman Supremacy, he didn't act immediately like the Dark Emperor. Instead, he came to Yunmu's side and treated his injuries for a while before taking action. "Ningyu, you play with these people. I'm going to play cat and mouse." Qi Gongming pointed at the 5 figures beside him and stomped on the ground, wanting to retreat from this area. Ningyu smiled at Qi Gongming's retreat, then his body gradually turned illusory. "Not good. Hurry up and stop Ningyu. Stop Ningyu at all costs." Qi Gongming was well aware of the difference between him and the enemy. If he were to fight with Ningyu head-on, only death would await him. After all, Ningyu could even kill Danming, a 7th-grade middle human supremacy. He definitely couldn't beat him. Qi Gongming was only a 4th-grade middle human supremacy, a second-rate genius. In other words, with Qi Gongming's peak strength, he could only fight against a 6th-grade middle human supremacy. Against a 7th grade middle human supremacy, he wouldn't even have the chance to escape. Stop me? An illusory voice rang in Qi Gongming's ears. Hearing this voice, Qi Gongming acted as if he was facing a great enemy. He hurriedly extended his perception, wanting to find out where Ningyu was. However, no matter how hard Qi Gongming tried, he couldn't find Ningyu's exact location. Ningyu kept jumping back and forth, and his location was not fixed. Other than Qi Gongming, even the 5 late-stage 7th grade middle human supremacies couldn't find Ningyu's location. Don't worry, I won't let you die so easily. Suddenly, Ningyu appeared beside Qi Gongming. He clenched his right fist and punched out. Ningyu's punch wasn't very powerful, only about 50% of his strength. Bang! Qi Gongming retreated rapidly after being hit in the chest. Bang bang bang! Ningyu said that he wouldn't let Qi Gongming die so quickly, so he would keep his promise. Chasing after Qi Gongming, Ningyu punched out several times. Every punch landed on Qi Gongming's chest, shattering all of Qi Gongming's internal organs. Qi Gongming kept spitting out fresh blood. Qi Gongming's aura dropped from the 4th grade middle human supremacy to the 1st grade middle human supremacy. Chapter 1133. Die! You're courting death. It was only after Ningyu threw out 35 punches that the 5 late-stage 7th grade human supremes found Ningyu's exact location. Rumble. Since they had found Ningyu's exact location, they would definitely use all sorts of spells to attack Ningyu. Qi Gongming was now lying on the ground like a dead dog, his fate unknown. How could the 5 late-stage 7th grade human supremes let Ningyu go? The mission Wu Hai gave them was to ensure Qi Gongming's safety. Now, Qi Gongming's life was in danger. If Ningyu continued to attack, Qi Gongming would definitely die. Late-stage 7th grade human supremes. Looking at the 5 late-stage 7th grade human supremes closing in on him, Ningyu took a deep breath and his expression turned grave. Although he could kill mid-stage 7th grade human supremes, Ningyu still felt a great deal of pressure when facing a late-stage 7th grade human supremes. 1-on-1 might not be a problem, but 1 against 5, Ningyu did not have absolute confidence. Putting aside whether he was a match for them or not, Ningyu drew out the red demon sword and instantly sent out 5 sword rays. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The speed of the 5 sword lights was extremely fast. The sword rays tore through the void and arrived in front of the 5 late-stage 7th grade human supremes in the blink of an eye, slashing at their necks. Ningyu knew that his first attack would definitely not be able to kill these pellets, so he only used 10% of his strength. Law of space concealment. After one move, Ningyu's figure became illusory again. Relying on the law of space, he completely concealed himself in the void. What's going on? Just as Ningyu concealed himself in the void, the 5 late-stage 7th grade human supremes stopped in mid-air and used all their senses. If they wanted to kill Ningyu, they had to confirm Ningyu's location. Otherwise, if they couldn't even find Ningyu, how were they supposed to kill him? However, no matter how hard the 5 pill puppets tried, they had no way of locating Ningyu's specific location. Whoosh! Not only did he not discover Ningyu's location, but his own safety was also threatened. Ningyu suddenly appeared behind a Danmu and stabbed his sword towards the Danmu's heart. Whoosh! If Dan Ming hadn't reacted in time, Ningyu's sword might have sent him to the next world. Ah! Seeing Ningyu appear, the other 4 pill puppets simultaneously threw out a punch. Their target was Ningyu. However, the other 4 Dawn were clearly brainless. Ningyu tore through the void and disappeared. Their attacks all landed on the chest of another Danmu. Struck by the powerful attacks of his 4 companions, the Danmu's aura instantly dropped from late-stage 7th grade human supremes to early-stage 7th grade human supremes. He even let out a hysterical roar. Haha, killing your own sect members. Very good. I'd love to see that. With a faint smile, Ningyu appeared beside Qi Gongming again. He raised his right leg and stomped heavily on Qi Gongming's chest. Crack! The sound of ribs breaking rang out. Qi Gongming let out a miserable shriek like a pig being slaughtered. Die! The remaining 4 late-stage, 7th-grade human supremes were smarter. They held back their attacks and attacked Ningyu repeatedly. I'm sorry, but you might lose a companion. The second time Ningyu spoke, it was beside the most unlucky Dan Mu. Puff! Holding the red demon sword in his hand, Ningyu raised it and plunged it straight into the heart of the unlucky Dan Mu. After his heart was pierced, the unlucky Dan Mu struggled for a while. Then, his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. Die! Seeing that their companions had been killed, the 4 Dan Na survivors let out hysterical roars. Due to their stupidity, their companion was killed. However, they blamed the death of their companion on Ningyu and Ningyu's cunning. I've killed one. Next, I'll use another method. Ningyu was not a hothead. It was fine to use the same method once. If he used it a second or third time, he might be discovered. Once discovered, the consequences would be dire. After all, facing off against late-stage, 7th-grade human supremes head-on, and 4 of them at that, Ningyu felt immense pressure. Puff, puff. Fortunately, Ningyu had many tricks up his sleeves. Using all kinds of methods, after half an hour of busy work, another 2 late-stage, 7th-grade human supremes were killed. Now, only 2 of the 5 late-stage, 7th-grade human supremes were left. Qi Gongming, who was far away, was also at his last gasp. He was only hanging on to his last breath. He was not far from death. Kid, do you only know how to dodge? Come out and fight if you can. The remaining 2 late-stage, 7th-grade human supremes were called Hang Bo and Hua Lei. The strength of the 2 of them was the strongest amongst the 5 late-phase 7th-grade human sovereigns. It was completely reasonable that they were the last to survive. At this moment, Hang Bo and Hua Lei stood on either side of Qi Gongming and berated at the same time. As you wish. Buzz buzz. An indifferent voice sounded. Ningyu slowly appeared in front of them. Brat, in the face of absolute power, all conspiracies and schemes will be exposed. Hang Bo said coldly, I advise you to surrender quickly, or I'll let you know why flowers are red. There's still a chance of survival if you surrender. Resistance will only make you die faster. Hua Lei berated. Are you talking to me? Ningyu stretched out his hand and pointed at his nose. He said hesitantly, What absolute power do you have? If you had power, your 3 companions wouldn't have been killed by me. Qi Gongming wouldn't have ended up like this either. Oh right. Ningyu seemed to have thought of something and continued, I wanted to kill Qi Gongming from the start. It's because of the 2 of you that Qi Gongming suffered so much. Nonsense. Qi Gongming was only injured. You want to kill him? It's harder than ascending the heavens. What? Hang Bo snorted coldly and shouted. But before Hang Bo could finish his sentence, his mouth opened wide and his face was filled with disbelief. That was because they realized that Qi Gongming's eyes were wide open and his hands were clawing in front of him. This state was no different from having epilepsy. He was just short of foaming at the mouth. If he did that, Qi Gongming would be a living lunatic with epilepsy. Stop struggling. I've only punched you a few dozen times. That's already a lot less punishment. Seeing Qi Gongming's indignant look, Ningyu said calmly. Ningyu's words acted as a fuse. Qi Gongming's eyes were filled with viciousness. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his body fell backward. Bang! His heavy body fell to the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. At this moment, the leader of the Eastern Expedition Army, Qi Gongming, was dead. Hang Bo and Hua Lei screamed when they saw Qi Gongming die. Chapter 1134. A moment of crisis, I'm finished? Ningyu couldn't help but laugh out loud. It had to be said that Hang Bo and Hua Lei were quite ambitious to be able to say such words at this point. 1 against 5, Ningyu might not be able to do it. However, Ningyu still had a chance in a 1 versus 2 battle. Ningyu used his perception to probe the battle in the depths of the void. He muttered, "The Sword of Evil and Xielan are at a disadvantage. They can hold on for another half an hour at most. In other words, I have to kill Hang Bo and Hua Lei within half an hour." Thinking of this, Ningyu said coldly, "If I can kill your companions, then I can kill all of you. If you know what's good for you, destroy your own cultivation as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll end up like Qi Gongming." Hang Bo and Qi Gongming did not answer Ningyu directly. They snorted at the same time and took out a round plate from their pockets. The disc was about the size of a palm, and there was a silver needle as long as a finger on it. Probe disc. Seeing the disc in Hang Bo's hand, Ningyu's pupils shrank and he quickly retreated. The so-called detection disc, as the name suggested, could detect the specific location of a martial artist. Under the probing disc, even if Ningyu had the law of space, he still felt a little apprehensive. After all, Ningyu's spatial law was only in its nascent state, and its power was not very great. If he was at the peak of his space laws, Ningyu naturally wouldn't be afraid of some probing disc. But now, he had to think of a way to snatch it away. Otherwise, it was extremely likely that his position would be detected. "You have good eyesight. It's a probe disc," Hang Bo said coldly. "Let's see where you can run with the probe disc." "Hide." Ningyu's eyes turned cold, and his body quickly merged into the void. Whoosh! Hang Bo glared fiercely at Ningyu, then forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it on the probe disc. Swish, swish, swish. As soon as the essence blood dripped onto the disc, the silver needle on the disc swayed back and forth, sometimes pointing to the left, and sometimes pointing to the right. The direction where the silver needle was pointing was exactly where Ningyu was. Hua Lei attacked quickly. With the disc, Hang Bo was confident that he could detect Ningyu's location. Hang Bo and Hua Lei had a clear division of labor. Hang Bo scouted Ningyu's location while Hua Lei attacked. He was responsible for killing Ningyu. "Where are you going?" Hua Lei was very straightforward. He gathered the essence qi in his sea of consciousness on his wrist and punched out with a backhand. This punch was so powerful that it contained terrifying yuan qi fluctuations. Even the air made a hissing sound. An all-out attack from a late-stage, 7th-grade supreme martial artist. In the void, Ningyu was still jumping around to ensure that his location was not completely detected. Feeling the terrifying yuan qi fluctuations from Hua Lei's fist, Ningyu gritted his teeth and gathered all the yuan qi in his sea of consciousness on his wrist. He even wrapped his soul power around his wrist and punched out with a backhand. Bang! The two fists collided. Ningyu's fist and Hua Lei's fist collided. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Swish, swish. Both Ningyu and Hua Lei retreated several meters back. "Not bad. You can block my all-out attack with the cultivation of a 2nd-grade supreme martial artist. Looks like you are one of the 5 absolute geniuses." Rubbing his slightly swollen fist, Hua Lei said indifferently, "In front of me, even the 5 unmatched geniuses are useless. As long as I can detect your exact location, you are a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Death is only a matter of time." Ningyu's face darkened as he secretly thought of a countermeasure. The current situation was extremely dangerous for him. If he couldn't think of an effective solution, he could only wait for death. Rumble! At this moment, the situation on the battlefield changed drastically. In a moment of carelessness, Venerable Sword Devil and Xielan were struck by Wu Hai's attack, causing them to fall to the ground. Bang! Bang! The two figures landed heavily on the ground, producing 2 crisp sounds. Blood sprayed out as the Sword of Evil and Xielan's aura rapidly decreased. Damn it! Looking at the Sword of Evil and Xielan's miserable state, Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. When it rains, it pours. The sword of evil was heavily injured and Xielan's aura was weak. Moreover, his location was locked on by the probe disc. What should I do under these circumstances? Ningyu rolled his eyes and quickly thought of a countermeasure. What the hell are you guys doing? Landing in Danwu College, Wu Hai's face turned ugly when he saw Qi Gongming's miserable state. If word got out that Qi Gongming had been killed, where would he hide his face? He was one of the top figures in the Eastern Expedition Army. After all, he was a mid-stage 8th grade supreme. There were only a few people in the army who had a higher cultivation than him. Now that he couldn't even protect his own family, his prestige in the Eastern Expedition Army would definitely plummet in the future. All of you must die today. Wu Hai's expression turned very ugly. His eyes swept across Ningyu and the rest as he said coldly, "Originally, I didn't plan to start a massacre in the Great Xia Kingdom. Now I have changed my strategy. I will start killing from the Dan Wu Academy. Everyone, regardless of their cultivation, old, weak, women, and children, must die. Ningyu, do you have any more Xingyang pills?" At this moment, Xielan's soul power surged. No, more accurately, it was the palace master. Xielan was severely injured and her body was temporarily controlled by the palace master. The palace master sent a soul message to Ningyu. "If you have 2 Xingyang pills, I can use Xielan's body to fight against this Wu Hai. With 3, I can even kill him." Ningyu's face darkened. There probably wasn't even a single complete Xingyang pill on the sapling. Where was he going to get 3? Furthermore, the sapling was no different from a dead dog. No matter how hard Ningyu called out to it, it didn't respond. No response from the sapling meant that it couldn't produce Xingyang pills quickly. Without Xingyang pills, there was no way to deal with Wu Hai. It was truly hopeless. Is there any other way? Taking a deep breath, Ningyu whispered, "For example, using royal-grade essence crystals to replace Xingyang pills?" If it was royal-grade essence crystals, Ningyu did have some on him. If he could replace Xingyang pills with royal-grade essence crystals, Ningyu wouldn't hesitate to give all the royal-grade essence crystals he had to the Centauria Palatial Lord. There's no other way. I can only use Xingyang pills to unleash my full strength and fight against Wu Hai," the palace master said in a deep voice. "Hang Bo, Hualei." Just then, Wu Hai said coldly, "Because of your stupidity, Qi Gongming was killed. I'll give you guys a chance to atone for your sins. Bring everyone from Danwu College here." "Yes." Hang Bo and Hualei nodded hurriedly. Actually, when Wu Hai appeared, the two of them were extremely anxious and even a little afraid that he would kill them. After all, Qi Gongming was killed because of their stupidity. Chapter 1135. Trapped. If you want to capture Danwu College's students, you'll have to get past me first. Ningyu took a step forward and said coldly. Hang Bo and Hualei were both late-stage 7th grade supreme martial artists. If they attacked, Danwu College would be finished. Moreover, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy were still killing other elixir puppets. If Hang Bo and Hualei attacked, not only would Danwu College be finished, but the Dark Emperor's life would also be in danger. Therefore, Ningyu had no other choice but to stop Hang Bo and Hualei. "Since you want to die, we'll fulfill your wish." After exchanging glances, Hang Bo and Hualei stomped on the ground and dashed out. There was only one chance. If they missed this opportunity, there would be no more. In order to kill Ningyu as soon as possible, Hang Bo and Hualei used all their strength and reached Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Remember, in your next life, there are some people you can't afford to offend. Hang Bo's eyes revealed a ferocious look as he punched at Ningyu's chest with his right fist. This punch was so powerful that if Ningyu was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Dodge. Ningyu stomped on the ground and retreated quickly. "Where are you going?" However, just as Ningyu took a few steps back, Hua Lei tore through the void and blocked in front of him, using all his strength to attack his head. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. This was extremely dangerous. Universe Palm. Since there was no way to avoid it, Ningyu channeled the qi in his consciousness into his wrist and fanned out two palm prints. Although Ningyu used the Universe Palm, which was very powerful, Hang Bo and Hua Lei were late-stage 7th grade supreme martial artists. However, Hang Bo and Hua Lei were both late-phase 7th grade sovereigns. Unless Ningyu cultivated the Universe Palm to the ultimate realm, it would be hard for him to resist the two of them. Crack! Crack! As expected, the two palm prints Ningyu had unleashed were dispersed by Hang Bo and Hua Lei at the same time. After dispersing the palm imprints, Hang Bo approached Ningyu from the front and Hua Lei from the back. Ningyu will be killed soon. Now it's your turn. Seeing that Ningyu was at an absolute disadvantage, Wu Hai turned to the Sword of Evil and Xialan and said, "Two initial 8th grade sovereigns are great nourishment. If you want to kill us, you'll have to have the ability to do so first." The Sword of Evil forcefully stood up and said in a deep voice, "Ha!" Laughing maniacally at the sky, Wu Hai's tone changed as he icily said, "Trash like you can be killed with a flip of my hand. Sword of Evil, channel your vital energy into my body." Xialan quietly came to Venerable Sword Evil's side and whispered, "Swish." The Sword of Evil's eyes widened when he heard Xialan's words. He instantly understood what was going on. It was the Palatial Lord. Without the Xingyang pills, the Palatial Lord wanted to use his vital energy to deal with Wu Hai. Although this method was risky and could result in both of them dying if they weren't careful, it was the best method right now. Gritting his teeth, the Sword of Evil slapped his right hand on Xialan's back. Endless vital energy gushed out from his consciousness and entered Xialan's body through his palm. Rumble! As the vital energy in her body increased, Xialan's aura rose rapidly. In just a few seconds, Xialan had recovered from her heavily injured state to her peak state. Peak initial 8th grade sovereign. Xialan's aura had recovered to peak initial 8th grade sovereign and was only a step away from intermediate 8th grade sovereign. Damn it, I don't have enough vital energy. The Sword of Evil cursed in his heart when he felt the change in her aura. The Sword of Evil knew that Xialan's body was under the Palatial Lord's control. The Palatial Lord was very powerful. As long as she had enough vital energy, she could even raise her aura to intermediate 8th grade sovereign. Plop! All the vital energy was transferred to Xialan. The Sword of Evil's eyes rolled back and he fainted on the spot. Right now, the Sword of Evil didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Even a true martial realm martial artist could easily kill him. Who? Feeling the powerful vital energy in her body, Xialan took a deep breath. No, it should be the Palatial Lord. Her eyes flashed with a fierce light. The world has changed. I never thought that Dan Qi would dare to openly attack the human world. I'm from the Black Moon continent. Today, let me enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Haha, with just you? The corner of Wu Hai's lips rose as he coldly said, "Unless you advance to the 8th grade middle phase sovereign realm, killing you is as easy as taking something out of my pocket." As soon as the word single fell, Wu Hai's figure suddenly became illusory. The moment Wu Hai disappeared, the Palatial Lord narrowed her eyes and the vital energy in her body surged. Die. It wasn't long before a figure suddenly tore through the space above Palace Master Centauria, and his fingers formed a claw as he grabbed forcefully towards Palace Master Centauria's head. White Bone Claw. This move of Wu Hai's was called White Bone Claw, and it was extremely powerful. In the past, when Wu Hai was in the initial 8th grade human supreme realm, he had used the White Bone Claw to sneak attack and kill an intermediate 8th grade human supreme realm. Now that Wu Hai had reached the middle phase 8th grade sovereign realm, the might of the White Bone Claw had increased by several fold. In Wu Hai's view, the lady before him would definitely be killed. After all, he'd already sealed off the surrounding space, causing the woman before him to be unable to flee, and she could only go head-on against him. White Bone Claw. Palatial Lord Centuria's eyes changed, turning scarlet red. Swish! Swish! Glaring at Wu Hai, 2 cold rays of light shot out from his eyes and charged toward Wu Hai. Swish! Wherever the cold beams passed, the air would dodge. Child's play. The corner of Wu Hai's lips rose as he waved his hand and clashed with the first cold beam. Gotcha! A crisp sound rang out as the first cold beam quickly disappeared. Gotcha! After the first ray of cold light dissipated, the second ray of cold light was also blown away. Any resistance is futile before the White Bone Claw. Wu Hai spoke calmly. Then, his sharp palm pierced towards the heart of the 100 Flowers Palace Master. A one-hit kill. After all, the lady before him was weird, and Wu Hai didn't want any unforeseen events to happen. Thus, he decided to kill the palatial lord in a single move. Only a dead person wouldn't scheme. Haha, it won't be that easy to kill me. The palace master of the 100 Flowers Palace smiled, and a disdainful expression appeared on her face. 100 flowers bloom. With a wave of her hands, countless flower petals fell from the sky, trapping Wu Hai within the 100 flower formation. After the 100 flowers array appeared, the palatial lord vomited a mouthful of blood and her face turned pale. To set up the 100 flowers array, the palatial lord had unleashed all the energy in her body. This caused the palatial lord to be extremely weak, even weaker than the sword of evil. What the hell is this? Wu Hai berated from within the 100 flowers array. Reality had proven that the 100 flowers array was effective. At the very least, Wu Hai wouldn't be able to break the 100 flowers array in a short period of time. Hangbo, Hualei, you two trash, come over and help me break the array. Chapter 1136. Devouring, not good, supremacy. Wu is trapped. Hangbo and the rest had the upper hand against Ningyu and were half a step away from killing Ningyu. However, Wu Hai was their superior. They had no choice but to give up on attacking Ningyu and save Wu Hai. If they didn't save Wu Hai and Wu Hai broke the 100 flower formation by himself, wouldn't they be in trouble? Therefore, even though they were about to kill Ningyu, they didn't dare to continue attacking and could only help Wu Hai. Ningyu, just you wait. I'll deal with you later. Hangbo and Hualei moved quickly and arrived beside the 100 flower formation in the blink of an eye, helping to break it from the outside. Whoosh! After Hangbo and the rest left, the pressure on Ningyu instantly disappeared. He couldn't help but pant heavily. Too powerful. As long as Hangbo and Wu Hai had the probe disc, Ningyu wouldn't be able to fight against them. I have to think of a way to snatch the probe disc. Ningyu's eyes darted around as he tried to think of a solution. Now that the Sword of Evil and Palatial Lord Centuria had lost their fighting strength, as long as Hangbo and the rest broke the 100 flower formation and released Wu Hai, the consequences would be dire. Palatial Lord, how long can the 100 flower formation last? With a thought, Ningyu hurried to Palatial Lord Centuria's side and asked softly. It won't last long. 3 hours at most. Palatial Lord Centuria's voice was very weak, as though she could die at any moment. Crack! Ningyu knew what to do. He hurriedly took out a royal-grade essence crystal and circulated spirit transformation art to devour it. In almost an instant, the royal-grade essence crystal was completely devoured. Ningyu placed his right hand on Palatial Lord Centuria's back and threads of yuan qi flowed through his palm into Palatial Lord Centuria's body. As the yuan qi in her body gradually increased, Palatial Lord Centuria's face turned from pale to red. Is there any way to destroy the 100 flower formation and kill Wu Hai? Ningyu withdrew his palm and said in a deep voice. After pondering for a moment, the palace mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace said, There is a way, but we need to kill Hangbo and Hualei first. It's impossible to succeed with the two of them around. I know. Ning Yu's expression became very solemn. Killing Hang Bo and Hua Lei was an arduous task. At the very least, it was impossible to succeed in a short period of time. Besides, if Hang Bo and Hua Lei were smart enough to kill him first and then help Wu Hai break the 100 Flowers array, the situation would become very bad. Hua Lei, I'll help Venerable Wu break the 100 Flowers formation. You go kill Ning Yu. As the saying goes, the more you think about it, the worse it will become. Hang Bo said in a deep voice, I'll give you 10 minutes. You must kill Ning Yu. Understood. Hua Lei also knew that keeping Ning Yu alive would always be a scourge. I'll take your life while you're down. Therefore, Hua Lei's figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Ning Yu. He clenched his right fist and punched at Ning Yu's head. Hua Lei's punch was very simple. He wanted to kill Ning Yu with brute force. Move. At the critical moment, Ning Yu pushed the palace mistress away and pushed his right hand out. Bang! The two fists collided. Ning Yu was pushed back dozens of feet, while Hua Lei only took a few steps back. In comparison, Hua Lei had the upper hand. In terms of strength, Ning Yu was not Hua Lei's match. Moreover, Hua Lei had the probe disc. Ning Yu could not use the spatial law to hide in the void. Spatial law, can you stop Hua Lei? Ning Yu knew the severity of the problem. He hurriedly communicated with the spatial law. Buzz. The result was always disappointing. The spatial law shook a few times, telling Ning Yu that he could not stop it. What's the use of having you? Ning Yu was so angry that he gritted his teeth. When fighting for energy, the spatial law was always ahead. Now that it was facing an enemy, the spatial law was afraid and did not dare to make a move. Ning Yu, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Hua Lei snorted and tore through the void. He appeared in front of Ning Yu in the blink of an eye. Dark Emperor. Looking at Hua Lei, who was just inches away from him, Ning Yu did not resist. Instead, he stared at Hua Lei's back and shouted. You want to distract me? Not so easy. Hua Lei said coldly. In order to kill Ning Yu, Hua Lei focused all his attention on Ning Yu. He even used the probe disc to deal with Ning Yu. He did not have the energy to pay attention to the situation around him. Hua Lei dodged. However, before Hua Lei's fist landed on Ning Yu, Hang Bo shouted from afar. What? Hua Lei immediately turned around when he heard Hang Bo's shout. This glance caused Hua Lei's pupils to shrink and his body to tremble uncontrollably. Because a bloody mouth had already arrived in front of him. Violet Golden Sky Devouring Hound. These words instantly appeared in Hua Lei's mind. Only a Violet Golden Sky Devouring Hound could display such power. Dark Emperor, don't. Hua Lei wasn't the only one who was shocked by the sudden change. Even Ning Yu yelled. The Dark Emperor's goal was clear, to devour Hua Lei. Devour. Hua Lei was a late-stage, 7th-grade human supreme. Even if the Dark Emperor devoured him, there was a high chance that he would explode. After all, the Dark Emperor was only a 2nd-grade human supreme, far weaker than Hua Lei. Devour Hua Lei? That was a joke. I'm fine. The Dark Emperor smiled at Ning Yu before devouring Hua Lei in front of everyone. Gulp. After swallowing Hua Lei, the Dark Emperor even burped, revealing a satisfied expression. However, the satisfied expression didn't last long before it was replaced by a pained expression. The Dark Emperor's body shrank rapidly as he rolled on the ground. Pain. Labor pain. The pain from his stomach caused the Dark Emperor to jump up and down as his expression turned hideous. Trash. All of you are trash. All of you are trash. Wu Hai, who was trapped in the 100-flower formation, was enraged when he saw Hua Lei being devoured by the Dark Emperor. He said coldly, Hang Bo, that Violet Golden Sky Devouring Hound's aura is weak. Go kill it quickly and try to break the 100-flower formation with the secret skill of the Dan puppet. Yes. Hang Bo knew the severity of the situation. He immediately gave up on breaking the 100-flower formation and dashed out. His target was the Dark Emperor. Talisman Supremacy. Find a way to stabilize the Dark Emperor. Leave the late-stage, 7th grade human Supreme Dan puppet to me. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu took a step forward and blocked Hang Bo's path. He said coldly, "Now that Hua Lei is dead and you've lost the detection disc, how are you going to fight me? Your current strength is less than half of your peak. It's as easy as pie for me to kill you," Hang Bo said coldly. "If you know what's good for you, move away. My target is that damn dog, not you. If you want to kill the Dark Emperor, you have to get past me first." At the critical moment, Ningyu calmed down. Taking out a few royal-grade origin crystals, Ningyu threw them into his mouth and chewed. Crack, crack, crack. Chapter 1137. Refine without the detection disc. Do you think you're still a match for me? After recovering to his peak state, the corners of Ningyu's mouth curled up slightly. He said sinisterly, "This day next year will be the anniversary of your death." Ah! Hang Bo raised his head and laughed maniacally. Soon after, he coldly said, "Who doesn't know how to boast? Since you insist on courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." With that, Hang Bo dashed out. In order to kill Ningyu as soon as possible, Hang Bo didn't even hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. Hang Bo had forcefully shortened the distance that would have taken a second to 0.01 seconds. In other words, in an instant, Hang Bo arrived beside Ningyu, raised his right leg, and kicked fiercely at Ningyu's head. Hang Bo's cultivation was at the late 7th grade sovereign realm, 5 levels higher than Ningyu. In terms of raw strength, Ningyu was not Hang Bo's match. If he fought him head-on, he would not have a good ending. Law of Space. With a thought, Ningyu used Space Law to drill into the void. Damn it! Seeing Ningyu disappear, Hang Bo could not help but curse. "If you have the guts, come out and fight me head-on." In fact, Ningyu was right. Without the detection disc, Hang Bo would not be able to find his position. "Fight you head-on? Unless I'm a fool." Ningyu's voice rang in Hang Bo's ears. "Humph! Don't think that I can't do anything if you don't come out." Snorting coldly, Hang Bo said coldly, "I can kill that damn dog first, then kill all the others. Let's see if you will come out or not." Whoosh! Hang Bo was a man of his word. He said he would kill the Dark Emperor first, so he would kill the Dark Emperor first. Tearing through the void, he appeared beside the Dark Emperor and punched out at the Dark Emperor's head. To deal with the purple-gold sky-devouring hound, one needed to explode its head so that it couldn't recover. Bang! However, Hang Bo's fatal punch was firmly blocked by the talisman Martial Supremacy beside the Dark Emperor. Peak 5th grade human supreme martial artist, I'll send you to hell. Hang Bo gritted his teeth in anger. His pinnacle punch was actually blocked by a pinnacle 5th grade sovereign. If this matter were to spread out, how would he maintain his footing in the pill furnace? Twisting his neck, Hang Bo threw another punch. This punch was also very powerful. The target changed from the Dark Emperor to the talisman Martial Supremacy. Not good. Supremacy talisman Martial's mouth was agape as a look of despair appeared on his face. In order to block Hang Bo's attack for the Dark Emperor, she used all her strength. He could only block one of Hang Bo's attacks with all his might. A second attack? Talisman Supremacy had no way of blocking it. Kill. At the critical moment, Ningyu appeared beside the talisman Martial Supremacy. He pushed the talisman Martial Supremacy away and quickly thrust the red demon sword in his hand. Whoosh! Fortunately, Hang Bo dodged in time. Otherwise, Ningyu's sword would have taken his life. I need to find a way to detect Ningyu's exact location. Hang Bo knew that with Ningyu causing trouble, he had no way of killing the Dark Emperor and the talisman Martial Supremacy. It's all Hua Lei's fault. If he's dead, he's dead. He didn't even leave behind the detection disc. Hang Bo was very dissatisfied with Hua Lei. He gave the detection disc to Hualei to deal with Ningyu, who would have thought that something would happen, causing the detection disc to be swallowed by the Dark Emperor. Now, without the detection disc, he couldn't even find Ningyu's exact location. How was he going to deal with the enemy? Hangbo, I'll tell you Ningyu's exact location. Just as Hangbo was secretly thinking of a countermeasure, Wu Hai's voice sounded in his mind. What? Hangbo revealed an ecstatic expression when he heard that. As long as he could detect Ningyu's exact location, he would have a way to kill Ningyu, burn his bones and scatter his ashes. Front left 3 meters. Wu Hai did things without any hesitation. When he said to tell Hangbo, he immediately told him. Die, Ningyu. With Wu Hai's help, Hangbo steadily gained the upper hand in the battle against Ningyu. At this rate, it was only a matter of time before Ningyu was killed. Palace Master Centauria, since you can set up the 100-flower formation, you must have a way to isolate the formation from the outside world. The Sword of Evil was very clear about this. Given the current situation, they had to isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world and cut off the communication between Wu Hai and Hangbo. Only then would Ningyu have a chance to kill Hangbo, otherwise, they could only wait for death. There is a way, but I'm at the end of my rope now. I don't have much vitality left in my body. The Palace Master said solemnly. It's actually very simple to isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world. That is to use energy or vitality to trap the 100-flower formation. That's simple? At this moment, Mu Feng, who was far away, opened his mouth and said. When the battle broke out, Mu Feng had been paying attention to the surroundings. Now that they were at a critical juncture of life and death, he felt that he had to do something. Otherwise, everyone would die. When he heard that only energy and essence qi were needed to cut off the connection between Wu Hai and Hangbo, Mu Feng said in a clear voice, after so many years, the Dan Wu Academy has accumulated quite a lot of energy and pure essence qi. There's even a Xingyang pill. What the F***ck? Even as the Palace Master couldn't help but curse when she heard Mu Feng's words. Xingyang pill. We're in this state for Danwu College, yet you actually didn't take it out earlier. If she had taken it out earlier, the Palace Master wouldn't have suffered such heavy injuries. That Xingyang pill is the treasure of Danwu College. Danwu College has an ancestral rule that it can't be taken out unless it's a matter of life and death. Mu Feng knew what the Palace Master was thinking, so he hurriedly explained. Nonsense. Hurry up and get the Xingyang pill. The Palace Master said coldly. Come back. Before Mu Feng could take more than a few steps, the Palace Master berated, other than the Xingyang pill, bring out all the other elixirs that can strengthen vitality. 1 minute. Gritting his teeth, Mu Feng hurriedly tore through the void and disappeared. Buzz. Mu Feng was a man of his word. A minute later, he returned to the Palace Master with a storage bag. It's indeed the Xingyang pill. After receiving the storage bag, Palatial Lord Centauria sent a bit of her perception into the storage bag, and her complexion improved slightly. Other than the Xingyang pill, there are also many grade 6, 7, and even grade 8 elixirs. Nodding, the Palace Master threw the Xingyang pill into her mouth without any hesitation. After a moment's thought, the palatial mistress swallowed the rest of the pills. Bam! With so many elixirs in her stomach, the Palace Master's body let out a dull thud. The thud got stronger and stronger. In the end, the pain caused beads of sweat to appear on the Palace Master's forehead. Where there's effort, there'll be rewards. Soon, the Palace Master returned to normal. As for the Palace Master's aura, it returned to the early stage of Grade 8 Human Supreme. Freak. Sensing that the Palace Master's aura had quickly returned to Grade 8 Human Supreme, Mu Feng's mouth was agape with disbelief. As for the Sword of Evil and the Talisman Supremacy, they didn't have much of a reaction. Chapter 1138. Seal. Evacuate the surrounding martial artists. I'll think of a way to isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world. After recovering, Palace Master Centaurus said in a deep voice. Yes. Mu Feng didn't dare to delay as he hurriedly brought the heavily injured martial artists away. In an instant, there were only a few figures left in the entire region. Palace Master Centaurus, Sword of Evil, Talisman Supremacy, Dark Emperor, Ning Yu, Hang Bo, and Wu Hai, who was trapped in the 100-flower formation. Palace Master Centaurus, you're about to recover to your peak condition. Do you have a way to kill Wu Hai? Initially, Sword of Evil's idea was to isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world. However, with the recovery of Palace Master Centaurus' strength, Sword of Evil changed his mind. Sword of Evil felt that this was the best opportunity to kill Wu Hai and he mustn't miss it. The 100-flower formation has two functions. The first is to trap others and the second is to activate the restrictions within to kill martial artists. Palace Master Centaurus explained, "It's easy to trap others, but it's impossible to activate the restrictions with my current strength. Unless, at this point, Palace Master Centaurus paused for a moment before saying in a deep voice, "Give me another 3 Xingyang pills to increase my strength by several times." Hold on. Isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world first. Sword of Evil said hurriedly. Give me another 3 Xingyang pills? To think that Palace Master Centaurus would say that. Where was he going to find something as precious as the Xingyang pill? Even Great Xia country's Danwu College viewed a Xingyang pill as an utmost treasure. Given his current state, he wouldn't be able to find it. It's not that easy to isolate the aura. Suddenly, Hang Bo forced Ning Yu to retreat and arrived beside Palace Master Centaurus in the blink of an eye. Raising his right hand, Hang Bo smashed towards Palace Master Centaurus' head. Courting death. Upon seeing Hang Bo overestimate himself and attack Palatial Lord Centaurus, all the warriors in the region, including Ning Yu, believed that Hang Bo had gone mad. After all, the palace mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace had already recovered to the initial 8th grade human sovereign realm. If Hang Bo, who was at the late 7th grade human sovereign realm, went to find trouble with her, wouldn't that be no different from courting death? Bang! A crisp sound rang out as a figure rapidly retreated. What? When he saw the face of the retreating figure, Ning Yu's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. This was because the martial artist who had been repelled wasn't Hang Bo, but the palace master of the 100 Flowers Palace. What the hell is going on? Ning Yu couldn't believe that an initial Phase 8th grade sovereign like the Palatial Lord would be defeated by Hang Bo in a single move. Are you kidding me? Damn it. Ning Yu, hurry up and stop Hang Bo. I've only recovered to the early stage 8th grade supreme martial artist on the surface. Cursing inwardly, the Palatial Lord berated. If you want to get out of this predicament, you have to isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world. After that, you have to kill Hang Bo. F***ck, why didn't you say so earlier? As he finished speaking, Ning Yu stomped his feet on the ground and started fighting with Hang Bo once again. Every single move of Ning Yu was filled with his full strength. Ning Yu's objective was clear. He wanted to stop Hang Bo from attacking the Palatial Lord Centaurus. As long as Palatial Lord Centaurus severed the connection between the 100-flower array and the outside world, Hang Bo would be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, a grasshopper at the end of autumn. Rumble. Naturally, Ning Yu knew the severity of the situation, and so did Hang Bo. Ning Yu used his full strength in every single move, and so did Hang Bo. He wanted to kill Ning Yu before his aura was isolated, then kill the Palatial Lord Centaurus and the rest. Time was ticking away. An intense battle was happening in Danwu College. Ning Yu and Hang Bo were fighting with all their might, while the Palatial Lord Centaurus stood in front of the 100-flower formation and waved his hands. Every time the Palatial Lord Centaurus waved his hand, a wave of light would leave his palm and enter the 100-flower formation. Every time a wave of light came out, the palatial Lord Centuria's expression would turn uglier. Overdrafting her life. The palatial Lord Centuria was overdrafting her life. In order to isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world, the palatial Lord Centuria didn't hesitate to overdraft her life. Stop messing around. It's useless. Even if you isolate the 100-flower formation from the outside world, I can still get out. At this moment, Wu Hai calmed down and said indifferently, the 100-flower formation can only trap me for 3 hours. After 3 hours, when I break the 100-flower formation, the first person I'll kill will be you. No. Wu Hai raised his brows and said coldly, I won't kill you. I want to use you as a cauldron. After all, it's hard to meet a beautiful woman with a high cultivation like you. Don't worry. You'll definitely die before I do. The palatial Lord Centuria naturally wouldn't be disturbed by Wu Hai. While isolating her aura, she said coldly, 3 hours is enough for us to find a way to kill you. Hee, there's something I might need to tell you. Smiling, Wu Hai said, actually, you don't have 3 hours because the upper echelons of the Eastern Expedition Army are secretly plotting to break the Pill Cavern of Danwu College. As long as the Pill Cavern is broken, the Pill Puppet Army will completely appear. I'm very curious. Logically speaking, with the capabilities of the Eastern Expedition Army, the Pill Cavern of Danwu College should have been broken long ago. Why are you still saying such things? Asked the Sword of Evil, puzzled. The Pill Cavern of Danwu College could be easily broken. Otherwise, Wu Hai and the rest wouldn't have come out. Now that Wu Hai said that the upper echelons of the Eastern Expedition Army were secretly plotting to break the Pill Cavern, the Sword of Evil was naturally puzzled. There's no harm in telling you. Wu Hai said indifferently, the Eastern Expedition Army is divided into 2 factions. One faction advocates attacking the humans from the Great Xia Kingdom, while the other advocates stabilizing the situation and attacking the humans when the time is right. You guys are the main attackers, said the Sword of Evil coldly. That's right, we are the main attackers. Nodding his head, Wu Hai said, as soon as we came out, the other faction completely sealed the Pill Cavern. However, the main attacking faction has more experts, so they decided to break the Pill Cavern from another place. Another place? Asked the Sword of Evil, puzzled. The other place is right under our feet. Smiling, Wu Hai said, at most 2 hours, the main attackers will break the Pill Cavern. When that time comes, all of you will die. Seal. At this moment, the palatial Lord Centuria shouted, completely cutting off the connection between the 100 Flowers Array and the outside world. Rumble. In midair, Hangbo lost the directional support of Wu Hai and was directly attacked by Ningyu from all directions. Gotcha. In just a few minutes, Ningyu seized the opportunity and stabbed his sword into Hangbo's neck. Hangbo extended his right hand and pointed at Ningyu, wanting to say something. However, before the words left his mouth, his body fell backward. Thump! His body hit the ground, sending up a cloud of dust. Chapter 1139. Chapter 1139. Devil's Cave. Haha. Kill then. Just kill as much as you want. Anyway, in 2 hours, the Dan Wu Academy will become a living hell. Seeing Hangbo's death, Wu Hai raised his brows and smiled. Let me give you a piece of advice. Get out of Danwu College while there are still 2 hours. Otherwise, your outcome will be tragic. You guys look after Wu Hai first. I'll go help the Dark Emperor. Glaring at Wu Hai, Ningyu stomped on the ground and appeared beside the Dark Emperor in the blink of an eye. The Dark Emperor had a hideous expression and his body was trembling uncontrollably. Fortunately, the Dark Emperor was a purple-gold sky-devouring hound. If it was any other species of demon beast, they would have exploded long ago. Hualei was a late-stage 7th-grade supreme. It was not easy for the Dark Emperor to last until now. Ningyu was clear that he had to help the Dark Emperor refine the energy in his body. Otherwise, the Dark Emperor would be dead before the Dantian army arrived. Buzz. The mid-stage, 7th grade soul power in his body poured into the Dark Emperor's body. Spirit Transformation Art. The Spirit Transformation Art circulated quickly, and Ningyu started to help the Dark Emperor refine the energy in his body. Initially, the Dark Emperor's body was trembling uncontrollably. However, as Ningyu's soul power entered, the Dark Emperor gradually calmed down, and even his breathing became steady. Huff. Half an hour later, Ningyu let out a breath of turbid air and stopped. How is it? Seeing Ningyu stop, the talisman Martial Supremacy asked anxiously. Not much. Retracting his soul power, Ningyu's expression was a little ugly. The situation in the Dark Emperor's body was extremely complicated. It would take at least 3 to 4 hours to completely refine the energy in his body. In the past, Ningyu would have long helped the Dark Emperor refine the energy in his body. However, he could not do it now. Ningyu heard what Wu Hai said clearly. In another 2 hours, no, in another 1.5 hours, the main attackers would break out of the Pill Cavern. By that time, the entire Danwu College would become a living hell. At present, the best solution was to let Palatial Lord Centauria and the Sword of Evil recover to their peak state as soon as possible. Then, they could join forces to completely seal the Pill Cavern. This was the only way to resolve the current situation. Sword of Evil, Palace Master Centauria, you guys will need a few Xingyang pills to recover to your peak state. Ningyu didn't beat around the bush. He paused for a moment before continuing. What I mean is, you must recover to your peak state within 1.5 hours. They only had an hour and a half left. If they couldn't seal the Pill Cavern within that time, it would be useless even if the Sword of Evil and Palatial Lord Centauria recovered to their peak state. 5. Stretching out 5 fingers, the palace mistress said, with 5 Xingyang pills, I can raise my battle prowess to the late-stage 8th grade sovereign realm in an hour. 10. The Sword of Evil extended 1 finger and said, Give me 10 Xingyang pills and I can recover to my peak state. My true peak state. Late-stage 8th grade sovereign, peak-stage 8th grade sovereign. Ningyu's expression was extremely solemn. If it was really as the Palace Master Centauria and the Sword of Evil had said, there was a high chance that they could resolve this crisis. The battle prowess of a peak-stage 8th grade sovereign and a late-stage 8th grade sovereign was extremely powerful. Ningyu believed that they could seal the Pill Cavern together. The sapling can produce Xingyang pills, but the prerequisite is to give it energy. A large amount of energy. An endless supply of energy. Ningyu's eyes darted around as he racked his brains for a solution. Xingyang pills could only be produced by the sapling. Ningyu knew very well that even though the sapling was ignoring him now, he believed that the sapling would be happy to produce Xingyang pills as long as he could find a large amount of energy. Dean Mu, I need energy. A large amount of energy. An enormous amount of energy. This was Danwu College. Since Ningyu needed energy, he naturally had to seek Mu Feng's help. I've taken out all the resources of Danwu College, but they've all been devoured by her. Mu Feng's face was a little ugly as he pointed at the Palace Master Centauria. That Xingyang pill is the utmost treasure of Danwu College. Even if we sell Danwu College, we won't be able to gather 15 Xingyang pills. Even if Mu Feng were to go get another Xingyang pill, he wouldn't be able to do anything, let alone 15 Xingyang pills. 15 Xingyang pills. I've got to say that you guys are really crazy. Within the 100-flower formation, Wu Hai laughed maniacally. 15 Xingyang pills? To think that you guys can even say that. The Eastern Expedition Army has only managed to gather 3 Xingyang pills after fighting for so long. To think that you guys would ask for 15 Xingyang pills. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Around the capital, are there any cave abodes of predecessors, Dharma treasures left behind by experts, or sealed pill formulas or whatnot? Ningyu asked, unwilling to give up. The situation right now was clear. If they couldn't find any energy, everyone would die. I seem to recall Dong He mentioning that there's a place around the capital that might contain a large amount of energy. Suddenly, Mu Feng slapped his head. I'll get Dong He over right now. There's no need for that. You guys wait here first. I'll head over with the sword of evil and the rest. Waving it off, Ningyu gestured for Mu Feng to not follow. There had to be a lot of energy. A lot of it. If they couldn't attract the attention of the sapling, they wouldn't be able to get it to produce Xingyang pills. If they couldn't produce Xingyang pills, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua wouldn't be able to recover to their peak condition. If the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua couldn't recover to their peak condition, everyone would be doomed. Talisman Supremacy, I'll have to trouble you to stay and take care of the Dark Emperor while I'm not around. Regardless of whether I succeed or not, I'll be back in an hour and a half. Before leaving, Ningyu didn't forget to chat with the Talisman Supremacy for a bit. The Talisman Supremacy was a pinnacle grade 5 human supreme. She might have some trump cards up her sleeves. Ningyu felt more at ease letting her stay and take care of the Dark Emperor. Ningyu, I'll wait here. Remember to collect their corpses in an hour and a half. Wu Hai said in a clear voice as he looked at Ningyu and Venerable Sword Evil's departing figures. Sha sha. Ningyu didn't care about Wu Hai's words. The first thing he did after leaving the courtyard was to look for Dong He. Towards the east of the capital. Flying at full speed, it'll take about 5 minutes. Dong He knew the severity of the problem. When Ningyu asked him about it, he immediately replied, that cave is called the Demonic Ghost Cave. There's a rumor in the Alchemy Union that the Devil's Cave belongs to the Demonic Ghost Venerable. When the Demonic Ghost Venerable was alive, he was in the upper echelon of the Mystic Moon Continent's Alchemy Union. He had the cultivation of an Earth Supreme. I'm not concerned about the Demonic Ghost Venerable's cultivation. I'm concerned about whether there's any terrifying energy in the Devil's Cave. Ningyu said solemnly. The Demonic Ghost Venerable was a grade 9 alchemist when he was alive. Chapter 1140. Devil Sundan, there's no time to lose. Let's depart now. There was less and less time left for Ningyu. He could not afford to waste a single minute. Every minute they wasted meant an extra minute of danger. I'll bring Palatial Mistress Centauria. You bring Xielon to the Devil's Cave. Kacha. The space in front of him suddenly cracked open as Ningyu grabbed Palatial Lord Centauria and entered. Seeing that Ningyu had left, Dong He did not dare to be slow. He hurriedly took the Sword of Evil and followed closely behind Ningyu. Whoosh, whoosh. Ningyu and Dong He's speed was not slow. After leaving the capital, they immediately rushed towards the Devil's Cave. Under Dong He's lead, Ningyu shuttled left and right, his movements unpredictable. In the blink of an eye, 3 minutes passed. What's going on? Didn't you say it was only 3 minutes away? Ningyu's face darkened. How was this the Devil's Cave? It was clearly a plain. There was not a single tree in the surroundings, and one could see the end of it with a single glance. I did say that it's only 3 minutes away, but there are people following behind us. We need to shake them off before we can reach the Devil's Cave. Dong He's face was also very ugly. The Devil Venerable was one of the higher-ups of the Alchemy Union, so it was highly possible that his cave contained a 9th-grade pill formula. No one knew who had leaked the news, but it led to people following behind them, wanting to get a share of the loot. In fact, Dong He was very puzzled. Logically speaking, there should only be 3 people who knew about this, and 2 of them had already been killed by Dan Qi. In other words, only he knew that the Devil's Cave was the cave of the Devil Lord. How did the others know about this? Someone's following you? Upon hearing Dong He's words, Ningyu hurriedly extended his perception. Since they wanted to go to the Devil's Cave, Ningyu didn't use his perception, so he didn't notice anyone following them. There really is someone. As soon as he released his perception, Ningyu's face darkened to the extreme. That's because the cultivators behind them weren't ordinary cultivators. Their cultivations had all reached the 5th grade sovereign realm. There was even an illusory figure that even his perception couldn't detect. Ignore them, let's continue to the Devil's Cave. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu sent a soul message to Dong He. As long as we can find the energy to restore the Sword of Evil and the Palace Mistress of the 100 Flowers to their peak state, we can kill these Tom, Dick, and Harry with a flip of our hands. Go. Since Ningyu had spoken, Dong He decided not to go around in circles. Instead, he dashed towards the Devil's Cave at an astonishing speed. This time, their goal was clear and their speed was extremely fast. After only 2 minutes, Ningyu and Dong He stopped in front of a cave. This is the Devil's Cave. Looking at the pitch-black cave in front of him, Ningyu's jaw dropped. His face was filled with disbelief. The reason why Ningyu was shocked was not because the cave was dark, but because he found no less than 5 restrictive spells at the entrance. How much time would it take to decipher so many restrictive spells? That's right, this is the Devil's Cave. Nodding, Dong He said in a low voice, there are 5 restrictive spells at the entrance of the Devil's Cave. I can decipher 3 of them, but I can't decipher the last 2. Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and decipher the first 2 restrictive spells. Ningyu said hurriedly. No matter what, they had to first decipher the restrictive spells that could be deciphered. As for the remaining 2 restrictive spells, they could think of a way to decipher them later. Take a few steps back. Dong He waved his hands, and in a split second, a cold light shot out. Swoosh. The cold light was extremely fast, arriving at the entrance of the Devil's Cave in the blink of an eye. Rumble. Suddenly, the cold light exploded. The first restrictive spell was deciphered. Swoosh. Swoosh. Following that, 2 more cold lights shot out from Dong He's body, arriving at the entrance of the Devil's Cave. Rumble. Rumble. 2 similar explosions rang out, and the second and third restrictive spells were deciphered. Now, there were only 2 restrictive spells left at the entrance of the Devil's Cave. And these 2 restrictive spells were the hardest to decipher. Dong He had no idea where to start. I'll try to decipher them with brute force. In order to decipher the restrictive spells as soon as possible, Ningyu gathered the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness on his wrist. His body shot out, and he threw a punch at the Devil's Cave. Bang! The result made Ningyu feel a little hopeless. If it weren't for his quick reflexes, the rebound from the 4th restrictive spell would have been enough to end his life. Let's try my soul force. Since brute force wouldn't work, Ningyu separated a portion of his soul force and approached the Devil's Cave, wanting to use it to decipher the restrictive spells. However, just as Ningyu's soul force was released, a faint voice rang out. Don't waste your energy. The 4th and 5th restrictive spells can only be deciphered with a specialized scroll. A 2nd grade supreme like you won't be able to do it. When this voice rang out, the surrounding void suddenly split open, and several figures appeared. Whoosh! In an instant, several figures descended and surrounded Ningyu's group. Very good. You're a 2nd grade supreme, Dong He is a 1st grade supreme, and there are 2 useless 8th grade supreme. The middle-aged man in the lead slowly swept his gaze across Ningyu's group, and said calmly, Since I've found the Devil's Cave as your leader, in order to repay you, I've decided to grind your bones to ashes. Who are you? Dong He's face darkened as he berated. You don't need to know who I am. All you need to know is that I'm the same as you, from the Alchemy Union. The middle-aged man's lips curled up, and he said sinisterly, It's just that you belong to the Black Moon continent, while we come from the Dan-Qing continent. What? The Dan-Qing continent? Dong He's eyes widened in shock. The entire Alchemy Union's headquarters in the Heavenly Devil region was located in the Danqing continent. The Demon Lord was one of the higher-ups of the Black Moon Continent branch, and he didn't have much of a relationship with the headquarters of the Danqing continent. A long time ago, the Alchemy Union branch in the Black Moon Continent had a conflict with the headquarters of the Alchemy Union in the Danqing continent. At that time, the headquarters of the Alchemy Union had already wanted to abolish the Alchemy Union branch in the Black Moon Continent. It was only because of the Demon Lord's intervention that the Alchemy Union branch in the Black Moon Continent continued to exist. As a result, the Demon Lord had offended quite a few people. The heavens are merciful. As long as you kneel down and kowtow to me a few times, then cripple your cultivation, I can consider sparing your lives. The middle-aged man shrugged and said, "Otherwise, I'll have to send you to heaven. If I'm not wrong, you're a late 7th grade supreme." With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu took out the red demon sword. "Let me give you a piece of advice. Not long ago, I killed 5 late 7th grade supreme. If you know what's good for you, help me break the 4th and 5th restriction as soon as possible. Otherwise..." At this point, Ningyu paused for a moment, then said in a cold tone, "You will be the 6th late 7th grade supreme that I've killed today." Chapter 1141. A precious treasure. Halfway through his words, Sun Devil Pill's expression suddenly changed and he hastily retreated. Because Sun Devil Pill discovered that Ningyu had unknowingly arrived in front of him. Furthermore, Ningyu's right hand was clenched into a fist and fiercely punched towards his head. Damn it! At such a close distance, it was hard for Devil Sun Dan to dodge Ningyu's powerful attack. Cursing inwardly, Master Pill Devil also clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. Gotcha! A crisp sound rang through the air. Dan Devil's face became extremely ferocious and his body was sent flying several feet away. Poochie! Fresh blood sprayed out of his mouth. Devil Dan clenched his fists and locked his gaze onto Ningyu. He wanted nothing more than to rush forward and kill Ningyu. "You're definitely not a grade 2 supreme martial artist." The way Devil Sun Dan saw it, the reason he was injured by Ningyu was because he was careless. On the other hand, Ningyu was hiding his cultivation. He was a late-stage 7th grade supreme martial artist. If Ningyu's cultivation was at 2nd grade supreme martial artist, it would be impossible for him to injure him, not even a sneak attack. "I'm sorry, I'm indeed a grade 2 supreme being." Shrugging his shoulders, Ningyu said, "You're just an ordinary late phase 7th grade sovereign. I don't even need to use my full strength to kill you." Got it. Suddenly, Devilish Dan seemed to have remembered something. His eyes widened and a look of shock appeared on his face. 5 absolute geniuses. These words appeared in Prince Dan's mind. Only one of the 5 ultimate heavens would be able to contend against him with a cultivation of 2nd grade mortal supremacy. "I didn't expect you to be one of the 5 great geniuses." Devil Prince Dan's face darkened. Sun Dan Fiend had seen the terror of the 5 ultimate geniuses before. In the headquarters of the Alchemy Union, there was one of the 5 absolute geniuses. That genius from the 5 ultimates was the same as Ningyu, a 2nd grade sovereign. Back then, Devil Sun Dan had fought against that genius. Unfortunately, Devil Sun Dan couldn't even withstand one move and was defeated. Now that he had met another genius of the 5 ultimates, how could Sun Dan Fiend not be shocked? "Go, all of you go. I'll reward anyone who can kill him with a high-grade medicinal pill." Even though Ningyu was one of the top 5 geniuses, Devil Sun Dan would not give up. Inside the Devil Lord's cave, there was a treasure. The reason why Sun Devil Dan had come all the way from the Pill Formation continent to the Mystic Moon continent's Grand Xia Kingdom was for that treasure. If he gave up now, everything would go back to square one. After pondering for a moment, Prince Dan Devil started to lure the surrounding 5th grade mortal supremes and gave them empty promises. Voila! Devil Sun Dan's empty promise was very useful. As soon as he finished speaking, all the 5th stage human supremes in the area moved out. The goal of these 5th grade supreme experts was very clear, that was to kill Ningyu. Courting death. Being besieged by so many 5th grade mortal sovereigns, Ningyu's eyes flashed with ferocity. Since you're seeking death, I'll fulfill your wish. Holding the red devil sword in his hand, Ningyu injected the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness into it and dashed out. Good chance. Seeing Ningyu fighting with the 5th grade mortal supremes, Devil Sun Dan raised his eyebrows and immediately tore through space to arrive in front of the Devil's Cave. He took out a scroll from his bosom and dripped a drop of blood on it, then quickly threw it out. Bang! With a muffled sound, the scroll suddenly exploded. At this moment, the 4th restriction spell was broken. With the same action, Devil Sun Dan took out another scroll and dripped a drop of blood on it. Bang! When the second muffled sound was heard, Devil Sun Dan's body also became illusory. In the blink of an eye, Devil Sun Dan disappeared, leaving behind a gust of wind. From the moment Devil Sun Dan tried to break the restriction spell to the moment he disappeared, only a few seconds had passed. Ningyu, Devil Sun Dan has entered the Devil's Cave. When Dong He saw Devil Sun Dan disappear, his expression changed greatly as he shouted anxiously, "Die for me!" Devil Sun Dan's actions were all seen by Ningyu. But in such a short period of time, he had no way of killing so many 5th grade mortal supremes. According to his estimation, it would take him at least 3 minutes to kill the dozen 5th grade mortal supremes that Devil Sun Dan brought. In less than 3 minutes, he would have to heavily injure them. I have to kill them. Leaving them alive will always be a problem. With a ferocious look in his eyes, Ningyu started to communicate with the law of space, and his body disappeared in an instant. Ningyu's principle was that if the enemy did not offend him, he would not offend them. If the enemy offended him, he would kill them. Moreover, these were the 5th grade mortal supremes that Devil Sun brought. If Ningyu did not kill them, they would definitely kill Ningyu. He could show mercy to others, but he could not show mercy to these people. Crack! Using the law of space, Ningyu jumped back and forth in the air. Every time he appeared, a 5th grade mortal supremes would be killed. Quick, retreat, he is too strong. Yes, quickly enter the Devil's Cave and rely on the formation inside to deal with him. Devil Sun Dan is in the Devil's Cave, it is best for us to enter now. Puff! Before the last 5th grade mortal supremes could finish his sentence, he spat out a mouthful of blood and died on the spot. Crack! 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 In the next 3 minutes, Ningyu used the law of space to kill all the 5th grade mortal supremes. Let's go. Ningyu did not hesitate at all. After killing all the 5th grade mortal supremes, he grabbed Palace Mistress Bai Hua and the Sword of Evil and entered the Devil's Cave. Whoosh! With Ningyu behind him, Dong He did not dare to stay behind alone. Dong He was only a 1st grade mortal supremes, and his strength was extremely weak. If a few more 5th grade mortal supremes appeared, wouldn't he die? In any case, Ningyu was very strong. Rather than staying behind, he might as well follow Ningyu. It would be safer. Cold. The first thing they felt upon entering the Devil's Cave was cold, abnormally cold. This kind of cold was not an ordinary kind, but the kind that penetrated deep into their bones. Chi. In order to resist this kind of cold, Ningyu and Dong He could only force their elemental energy out of their bodies and burn it to keep warm. How much do you know about the Devil's Cave? Ningyu asked as they entered the Devil's Cave. Since Dong He knew the exact location of the Devil's Cave, it was very likely that he knew the situation inside. Not much. I only know that the Devil's Cave is divided into 2 regions. The region we are currently in is the outer region of the Devil's Cave, so it is unavoidable that it is a little cold. After sorting out his thoughts, Dong He said, as long as we can pass through the outer region, we can enter the inner region. The Devil Lord's many years of savings are all in the inner region, including that treasure. Looks like Devil Sundan and the rest are also here for the Devil Lord's treasure. Can you tell me what that treasure is? Ningyu asked curiously. The Devil Lord was a 9th-grade alchemist when he was alive, so the treasure he left behind would definitely not be simple. Otherwise, it would not have attracted the attention of Devil Sundan and the rest. From what I know, that treasure can increase a genius talent. Chapter 1142. 6 Ears Spiritual Monkey. I want to know the specific effect, Ningyu said in a low voice. As a Sky Supreme in his previous life, Ningyu naturally knew about some heaven-defying treasures that could increase a cultivator's talent. But Dong He's tone was so serious, which meant that the treasure in the Devil's Cave was definitely not ordinary. The specific effect is that if you use it, you can increase your talent from 5 absolute geniuses to 6 absolute geniuses. Dong He explained. There is an extremely strict condition for using that treasure. You must be a genius of 4 absolute geniuses or above. Otherwise, the effect will only be equivalent to an ordinary level 10 pill. What the F***ck? Ningyu couldn't help but curse. Treasure. Definitely a treasure. In his previous life, he didn't even come across an item that could increase his talent when he was in the Sovereign Realm. Who would have thought that in this life, he would come across a treasure that could increase his talent when he was only a level 2 sovereign? Ningyu, I want you to promise me that you can't use the treasure left behind by the Demon Lord. Afraid that Ningyu would misunderstand, Dong He added, what I mean is that the treasure has already been reserved by the higher-ups of the Alchemy Union. If you use it rashly, it might cause them to be disgusted with you and they might even kill you. Things haven't even started yet. Isn't it a little too early to talk about this? Ningyu knew that Dong He was saying this for his own good, so he didn't blame him. Dong He was a level 1 sovereign and a level 8 alchemist. He was one of the higher-ups in the Mystic Moon Continent's Alchemy Union. Even he took the initiative to warn him, so it was clear how powerful the higher-ups of the Alchemy Union were. I know of a small path that can lead us to the inner region. Dong He knew that he couldn't waste time here, so he didn't go deep into the Devil's Cave. Instead, he turned into a fork. Hot. Extremely hot. Ice and fire, 2 different worlds. The main cave of the Devil's Cave was cold, but the fork was hot. Ningyu didn't want to experience this kind of pain anymore. Ha ha ha, Demon Lord, do you think I won't be able to find the treasure if you hide it here? When Ningyu and Dong He entered the fork, Devil Sundan had already arrived at the inner region of the Devil's Cave. The area Sundan Devil was in was very spacious. There were only 4 huge stone pillars. Each of the stone pillars was engraved with a large character. Demon, Ghost, Supreme, Swordsmanship. When the 4 words were put together, it was the Devil Lord. Break. After laughing maniacally, Master Dan Devil pushed out his right hand. Shio. A cold light swept out, and suddenly exploded on the stone pillar with the word Demon written on it. Kacha. The huge stone pillar suddenly shattered. Hua. Countless precious herbs emerged from the stone pillars. As expected of a 9th-grade alchemist, he actually plundered so many medicinal herbs, and all of them are high-grade medicinal herbs. Looking at the herbs scattered on the ground, the devilish pill smacked his lips and revealed a satisfied expression. His objective this time was to obtain the Devil Venerable's treasure. Naturally, these precious medicinal herbs would fall into his hand. Break. His right hand flickered again, and a cold light shot out, shattering the second stone pillar. Ding. The second stone pillar was not filled with medicinal herbs, but with many jade bottles. Gulp. The Devil Son of Dan stared at the jade bottles scattered on the ground. His face revealed a look of ecstasy. I'm rich. As an alchemist, the devilish pill was very familiar with the medicinal herbs inside the jade bottles. There were so many medicinal herbs inside the jade bottles, and the lowest rank was 7th grade. There were even 2 jade bottles in the middle that were unusually eye-catching. "Come here." The devilish pill made a grabbing motion in the air, and the 2 jade bottles appeared before him. Holding the jade bottles in his hand, the devilish pill's eyes became extremely hot. Peak 9th grade medicinal herbs. The medicinal herbs inside the 2 jade bottles were all peak 9th grade medicinal herbs, and were only a step away from becoming a 10th grade medicinal herb. There are a total of 10 peak 9th grade medicinal herbs. If I consume all of them, I will have a chance to advance to the 8th grade human venerable realm. The devilish pill had never been this excited before. Even though he had a high status in the Alchemy Union and had come into contact with 9th grade medicinal herbs, he had never seen a peak 9th grade medicinal herb. I have to consume them as soon as possible. If others find out, the consequences will be unimaginable. The devilish pill was very smart. The aura of a peak 9th grade medicinal herb was very terrifying. Some powerful alchemists could find him by following the aura. In other words, the devilish pill had to consume all 10 of these pills before returning to the Alchemy Union. That way, not only would he be able to improve his cultivation, but he would also be able to increase his status in the Alchemy Union. "Come in." The devilish pill resisted the urge to consume the medicinal herbs. He took out a storage bag and placed all the jade bottles and medicinal herbs inside. After that, the devilish pill had a satisfied look on his face. "Let me see what's inside the 3rd stone pillar." The devilish pill was very satisfied with the first 2 stone pillars. Now, the devilish pill's face was full of anticipation. Crack! The devilish pill used the same action to break the 3rd stone pillar. Roar! However, as soon as the 3rd stone pillar was broken, the expression on the devilish pill's face froze. A loud roar could be heard as a beast appeared in front of the devilish pill. 6 ears spiritual monkey. The beast in front of him had 6 ears. Its name was 6 ears spiritual monkey. 6 ears spiritual monkeys were very intelligent. When they were born, they were already at the 7th rank human supreme realm. Even though this 6 ears spiritual monkey was not yet an adult, its cultivation had already reached the 8th rank human supreme realm. It's over. The devilish pill was only at the advanced 7th rank human supreme realm. How was he going to defend against the 6 ears spiritual monkey? The demon lord knew that someone would come to steal his treasures when he was alive, so he left behind a backup plan. The 6 ears spiritual monkey's voice was a little sharp. What backup plan did he leave behind? The devilish pill asked. The demon lord was kind to me. His condition was to defeat me and obtain the treasures he left behind. The 6 ears spiritual monkey said calmly. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm leaving now. The devilish pill's mind was very clear. Fight with the 6 ears spiritual monkey? What a joke. He was simply courting death. The only way to survive was to escape. Otherwise, he would definitely be killed by the 6 ears spiritual monkey. Bang! The devilish pill only took a few steps before the exit was blocked by a giant stone door. You have no other choice. The 6 ears spiritual monkey stomped on the ground and his body shot out. Damn it! Seeing the 6 ears spiritual monkey charging at him, the devilish pill cursed under his breath and used all his strength to defend. Since there was no way to escape, he might as well fight with the 6 ears spiritual monkey. Even though the chances were slim, it was better than nothing. Poochie. However, the devilish pill was too optimistic. As soon as he came into contact with the 6 ears spiritual monkey, his body flew out and slammed into the stone door. The devilish pill spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura dropped from the advanced 7th rank human supreme realm to the 1st rank human supreme realm. Boring. Come out. Chapter 1143. Red Lotus Flower Boring, Come Out. When the 6-eared spirit monkey said those words, the entire area seemed to have frozen. The frozen space only lasted for a minute before it was broken by a loud explosion. Boom! Behind the stone wall where the demonic pill sun was, a huge crack suddenly appeared. Whoosh! Whoosh! A few figures dashed out from the crack. 6 Ears Spirit Monkey. As soon as they came out, a look of shock appeared on their faces. Feeling the aura from Ning Yu and the others, 6 Ears Spirit Monkey frowned in confusion. After all, the demonic pill sun was a late-stage 7th grade supreme martial artist. It was understandable for him to snatch the demon lord's treasure. But why were these 1st grade and 2nd grade human supreme martial artists, as well as 2 heavily injured martial artists, here to join in the fun? If you defeat me, you can take the treasure left behind by the demon lord. If you lose, you will die. After a moment of doubt, the 6-eared spirit monkey said calmly. Senior 6 Ears Spirit Monkey, we are not here to snatch the demon lord's treasure. Ning Yu thought of a plan and said, our main goal is to kill the demonic pill sun. To kill the demonic pill sun? 6 Ears Spirit Monkey was slightly startled. I don't care what your goal is. Anyone who enters the devil's cave must fight with me. If you defeat me, the treasure inside will belong to you. If you fail, you will die. All right, I am willing to fight with you. Since there was no way to avoid it, Ning Yu took a step forward and said. On the surface, it seemed like Ning Yu wanted to fight with 6 Ears Spirit Monkey. However, behind his back, Ning Yu sent a message to Dong He. If I am not wrong, the demonic pill sun should have a peak 9th grade pill on him. You should know what to do. Whoosh! After saying this, Ning Yu's body flashed and he dashed towards 6 Ears Spirit Monkey. Solitaire. For the first move, Ning Yu did not use his full strength. Instead, he injected his primordial chi into the red demon sword and slashed out a sword wave. Ever since he had advanced to the sovereign realm, Ning Yu had almost never used solitaire. After all, the power of solitaire was very weak, and it was no longer enough for Ning Yu to deal with powerful enemies. The reason why he used solitaire now was to make the 6-eared spirit monkey careless. Although the 6-eared spirit monkey was an 8th grade initial stage human sovereign, Ning Yu still had a chance to defeat him if he was careless. Insignificant skill. As expected, seeing how weak Ning Yu's attacks were, the 6-eared spirit monkey got excited. Anyway, I've been in the devil's cave for a long time. Why don't you stay and entertain me? Ning Yu's attack was weak, and the 6-eared spirit monkey's attack was not strong either. In order not to accidentally kill Ning Yu, 6-eared spirit monkey suppressed his cultivation to the 2nd grade supreme realm. Rumble. Inside the cave, Ning Yu and the 6-eared spirit monkey were fighting. While Ning Yu and the 6-eared spirit monkey were fighting, Dong He carefully came to the Devil Pill Prince's side and punched out with his right hand. Under the Devil Pill Prince's horrified gaze, Dong He punched the Devil Pill Prince's heart. Puff! On the surface, Dong He's punch didn't look like anything special. But when it came into contact with the Devil Pill Prince's heart, he suddenly exerted force, and a horrifying Yuan Qi wind entered the Devil Pill Prince's body. Crack, crack, crack! The Devil Pill Prince's internal organs were all smashed into pieces. There really is a peak 9th grade pill. Dong He rummaged through the Devil Pill Prince's body for a while, and then he took out a storage bag. Dong He was an 8th grade alchemist, and his soul force was very strong. He sent out a bit of his soul power and found that there were 2 special jade bottles in the storage bag. Each bottle contained 5 elixirs. Seniors, these pills are all for you. Dong He knew what Ning Yu wanted, so he took out the pills and gave them to the Sword of Evil and the Palace Master. Palatial Lord Centauria, you refine pills faster than me. I'll leave all these pills for you to use. The Sword of Evil had already seen the Palace Master's devouring ability. It could be said that the Palace Master's devouring ability was twice as strong as the Sword of Evil's. Okay. The Palace Master didn't refuse. She took the 2 jade bottles from Dong He and threw them into her mouth. Crack! The jade bottles were crushed, and the 10 ninth-grade pills entered the palace master's body. Rumble! As it turned out, Sword Evil Venerable's decision was the right one. After the 10 peak ninth-grade pills entered her stomach, the palace master's aura rose at a terrifying speed. In just a few seconds, she had recovered to the peak 7th-grade Mortal Supreme. And the palace master's aura was still rising. What? When the palace master's aura rose to the peak 7th-grade Mortal Supreme, the 6-ears spirit monkey's expression changed drastically. He threw all caution to the wind and attacked Ningyu. Bang! The terrifying force pushed Ningyu back to the 4th stone pillar. Crack! The huge stone pillar suddenly split open. After the stone pillar cracked, a red petal fell from the top of the stone pillar. The Demon Lord's treasure, the Red Lotus! Dong He shouted when he saw the red petal falling. Swoosh! Hearing Dong He's words, Ningyu's heart was in turmoil. Without a word, he immediately rushed out. At the beginning, Ningyu was still wondering what kind of treasure could increase his talent and turn him from a 5 ultimate genius to a 6 ultimate genius. Now that he saw the Red Lotus, Ningyu finally understood. The Red Lotus did have such an effect. In fact, Ningyu could clearly feel that if he could devour the Red Lotus, he would have a high chance of advancing to the peak 3rd grade Mortal Supreme. Ningyu definitely wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. He used all his strength and arrived before the Red Lotus in the blink of an eye. He opened his mouth and wanted to devour the Red Lotus. You're courting death. However, before Ningyu could devour the Red Lotus petal, the 6-ears spirit monkey shouted and charged at him. The Demon Lord's condition was to defeat him to obtain the Red Lotus. Now, Ningyu wanted to devour the Red Lotus without defeating him? He was courting death. Your opponent is me. At this moment, the Palace Master's aura had recovered to the early 8th grade Mortal Supreme. After recovering her aura, the Palace Master immediately rushed out and stood in front of Ningyu before the 6-ears spirit monkey did. Ah, all of you will die today. The 6-eared spirit monkey let out a hysterical roar as it engaged Palatial Mistress Centauria in battle. Good chance. Seeing the Palace Master holding up the 6-ears spirit monkey, Ningyu's eyes lit up. He burned his blood essence to increase his speed. 1 second later, Ningyu caught up to the Red Lotus and devoured it. Nightmare Crystal. As soon as the Red Lotus entered his mouth, Ningyu's face turned extremely gloomy. He had been tricked. There were 2 types of Red Lotus. One could increase one's cultivation and talent, while the other was the opposite. Chapter 1144. Spirit Monkey's Plot. Ha ha. Seeing Ningyu overestimating himself and swallowing the Red Lotus, 6-ears forced Palace Mistress Bai Hua back and let out a maniacal laugh. This is all part of your plan. Ningyu's expression was ugly to the extreme. Screwed. He had really failed miserably this time. 6-ears' intelligence was very high, to a terrifying extent. I should have known that this is the Demon Lord's cave abode. Why would 6-ears appear here for no reason? Ningyu gritted his teeth. That's right. 3 years ago I came to this cave. 6-ears' brows twitched as he explained, the outer and inner arrays of the Devil's Cave were all broken by me. Otherwise, how could you have come here so easily? There are 2 types of Red Lotus. The one you swallowed will lower your talent and yuan qi. If I'm not wrong, in a few minutes, your talent will fall to the level of a quadruple prodigy. Pooh! At this moment, Ningyu spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His aura dropped rapidly. Just like what 6-ears said, Ningyu's talent had fallen from the level of a quadruple prodigy. His yuan qi was depleted, and his aura was extremely weak. 6-ears, why are you doing this? Ningyu could not understand why 6-ears would ask him to swallow the Red Lotus for no reason. 6-ears snorted. The Demon Lord, that trash, set up an array. I need to find a quadruple prodigy, and make him swallow the red lotus to reduce his talent to quadruple prodigy. Only then will the last stone pillar appear. The last stone pillar? Ningyu revealed a doubtful expression. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground started to cave in. When the ground sunk to a certain extent, a huge stone pillar slowly rose from the ground. The fifth stone pillar. Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom when he saw the stone pillar slowly appearing. Everything was progressing according to the six-eared spirit monkey. The other red lotus is inside this stone pillar. Pointing at the fifth pillar, the six-eared spirit monkey said, "You're not one of the four ultimate geniuses. Even if you swallow the other red lotus, it won't help." Ningyu said in a deep voice. Haha, although I'm not one of the four absolute geniuses, my cultivation is at the initial 8th grade sovereign realm. As long as I can devour the red lotus in the stone pillar, I will be able to advance to the middle 8th grade sovereign realm. With a faint smile, the six-eared spirit monkey said, "In order to repay you for helping me, I have decided to kill you." "You want to kill Ningyu?" The palatial lord swallowed the last herb, and appeared before Ningyu in the blink of an eye. "Did you ask me?" As soon as she finished speaking, the palace mistress of the 100 Flowers Palace released her aura. A human supreme martial artist at the peak of the early 8th grade. After devouring so many elixirs and herbs, the palace master's aura had reached the pinnacle of the early stage 8th grade sovereign realm. "Oh, you guys came prepared." The corner of the six-eared spirit monkey's mouth rose as he said in a sinister tone, "Among the four of you, one is a first-grade sovereign realm, which I can kill with a flip of my hand. Although one is a 5 ultimate genius, no, a 4 ultimate genius, his aura has dropped to the freezing point. The last one is an injured 8th-grade sovereign realm." As he said this, the six-eared spirit monkey paused for a moment before continuing, "The three of them are not strong enough. Only you can resist me for a while." "It's good that you know," the palace mistress said in a deep voice. "You think I'm afraid of you? I just want to devour the red lotus before killing you." Curling his lips, the six-eared spirit monkey made a grabbing motion and an ancient scroll appeared in his hand. Waving the scroll, the six-eared spirit monkey said, "This scroll belongs to the demon lord. I kept it for this moment. Open." As the six-eared spirit monkey let out a low roar, the ancient scroll suddenly exploded. Whoosh! After the scroll exploded, a transparent barrier rose around the six-eared spirit monkey and the fifth pillar. Gotcha! Inside the barrier, the six-eared spirit monkey punched the stone pillar and took out the red lotus. Before devouring the red lotus, the six-eared spirit monkey said to Ningyu and the rest, "Wait here for a moment. After I devour and refine this red lotus, I will send you all to heaven." As soon as he finished speaking, the six-eared spirit monkey controlled the red lotus to float above his head. He closed his eyes and started to adjust his mental state. Before devouring the red lotus, he needed to adjust his mental state to its peak. Otherwise, the effect would be greatly reduced. For the sake of this red lotus, the six-eared spirit monkey had spent 3 whole years in the Devil's Cave. He did not want to make any mistakes at the most crucial moment. "I need to think of a way to break the barrier and snatch the red lotus." Ningyu's face was gloomy. His mind was racing to come up with a solution. The current situation was terrible for Ningyu. The Dark Emperor and the rest were still waiting for him to return to Danwu College, but he was surrounded. Leaving aside whether he could leave the Devil's Cave, even if he could, it would be a dead end once he reached Danwu College. The experts in the pill puppet were not any weaker than the six-eared spirit monkey. Law of space, is there any way to pass through the barrier? Ningyu started to communicate with the law of space. If the law of space could pass through the barrier, he might be able to deal a fatal blow to the six-eared spirit monkey with the help of the 100 Flowers Palace mistress. F***CK, F***CK. Ningyu couldn't help but curse after getting the answer from the law of space. Clearly, the law of space could not pass through the barrier. Sapling, if you don't answer me, I will destroy your foundation. At this critical moment, Ningyu contacted the sapling once again. Since the law of space could not pass through the barrier, the sapling was the only possibility. Therefore, Ningyu started to threaten, although you are the world tree and can produce Xingyang pills for me, if you don't help me today, everyone will be finished. Wang. Ningyu's threat worked. The sapling in the storage ring started to sway. You mean, there's energy underground? When the sapling started to sway, Ningyu thought that he could break through the barrier. However, as the sapling's sway accelerated, Ningyu finally understood. There was a large amount of energy underground. Not only was the sapling able to devour energy quickly, but it also had the ability to detect energy. Could it be that all the energy that the demon supremacy accumulated over the years is underground? Frowning slightly, Ningyu told the 100 Flowers Palace mistress about this, hoping that she could check it out. The reason why Ningyu told the 100 Flowers Palace mistress was because the 100 Flowers Palace mistress had recovered to the early stage 8th grade human supremacy, and his aura was weak. Nothing. After checking for a few seconds, the 100 Flowers Palace mistress shook her head. There's nothing underground. Wang. At this moment, the law of space also started to sway, urging Ningyu to go underground. Forget it. Since the law of space and the sapling are so excited, I'll go underground and take a look. Chapter 1145. Yuan Crystal Vein Swoosh. The ground of the Devil's Cave was extremely hard. Although he had the law of space and the sapling to open a path in front of him, Ningyu still felt that it was very strenuous. Moreover, as he went deeper underground, Ningyu found that the pressure was getting stronger. In the end, he even felt like he could not move an inch. Even with the law of space and the sapling in front of him, Ningyu still chose to stop. This place is about 5 kilometers from the surface. Why can't I even see a strand of hair? As he wrapped his body with Yuan Qi, Ningyu said, Sapling, don't King lie to me. Buzz. Hearing Ningyu's words, the sapling continued to sway a few more times before burrowing deeper into the ground. Seeing that the sapling was moving forward, Ningyu could only follow behind it, advancing slowly. This is a royal grade Yuan crystal vein? After advancing another 1,000 meters, Ningyu's mouth was agape, a dumbfounded expression on his face. A royal grade Yuan crystal vein. In front of Ningyu, there was a huge royal grade Yuan crystal vein towering. Ningyu's eyes were burning with passion as he sent out a wisp of his perception to probe. This royal grade Yuan crystal vein in front of him had at least millions of royal grade Yuan crystals. Gulp. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Ningyu directly stepped forward, wanting to store the Yuan crystals in his storage ring. Swoosh. However, before Ningyu could reach the side of the Yuan crystal vein, the sapling and the law of space moved quickly, arriving at the side of the Yuan crystal vein before Ningyu and burrowing into the Yuan crystal vein. Crack. Crisp sounds rang out continuously, and the entire Yuan crystal vein began to disintegrate from the inside. The sudden change caused Ningyu's mouth to open wide. He could not even believe his eyes. Wasn't this too fast? Although he knew that the sapling and the law of space devoured energy very quickly, Ningyu was still stunned by the speed before him. In just a few seconds, the entire crystal mine had been reduced by 1%. At this rate, the crystal mine would probably be completely devoured by the sapling and the spatial laws in a few minutes. I wonder if the sapling will produce something after devouring the primordial crystal mine. Before he could finish speaking, Ningyu's eyes widened and his mouth fell open. His face was filled with confusion. At the end of the sapling, there was a Xingyang pill. After devouring less than 1% of the entire Yuan crystal mine, the sapling had already produced a Xingyang pill. One could only imagine how many Xingyang pills it would produce once it devoured the entire yuan crystal mine. Gulp! Ningyu couldn't help but swallow his saliva as he stared at the end of the sapling. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As time went on, the tip of the sapling would produce a Xingyang pill every once in a while. Rumble. This situation lasted for 3 minutes. When the 4th minute arrived, the entire primordial crystal mine collapsed from the inside. Let's go! Although there were still royal-grade primordial crystals in the mine that hadn't been devoured, Ningyu knew very well that staying here was no different from courting death. Furthermore, after 3 minutes of devouring, most of the royal-grade primordial crystal mine had been devoured by the sapling and the spatial laws. There wasn't much left. Ningyu didn't want to risk his life for these royal-grade primordial crystals. Furthermore, Ningyu still had to deal with the 6-ears spirit monkey. He didn't have time to waste here. After storing the sapling into his storage ring, Ningyu rushed to the surface with the spatial laws. Ningyu roughly estimated that the sapling had produced at least 10 Xingyang pills in 3 minutes. Furthermore, the sapling was still producing Xingyang pills continuously. Although the speed wasn't particularly fast, it was better than nothing. Bang! Before long, Ningyu dug his way out of the ground with the spatial laws. Luckily, the 6-ears spirit monkey didn't start devouring the red lotus. This is giving me a chance. Seeing that the 6-eared spirit monkey was still resting with its eyes closed, Ningyu's heart jolted and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The mouthful of fresh blood attracted the 6-ears spirit monkey's attention. Kid, do you think there's a treasure underground? I'm very familiar with the entire Devil's Cave. I've searched 5,000 meters underground, but I couldn't find anything. Glancing at Ningyu, the 6-ears spirit monkey said in disdain, I'll let you live for another half an hour. After that, I'll start devouring the red lotus. Hee, the red lotus is a treasure. Once I devour it, I'll advance to the mid-stage 8th grade human supreme. At that time, I'll roast you guys and eat you. As the sinister laughter faded away, the 6-eared spirit monkey closed his eyes once again and began to adjust the condition of his body. Once his body was in peak condition, the 6-ears spirit monkey would start devouring the red lotus and advance to the mid-stage 8th grade human supreme. Ningyu, are you alright? Seeing that Ningyu had spat out blood, the palatial mistress and the sword of evil hurried to Ningyu's side. The palatial mistress even injected her yuan qi into Ningyu's body. I told you that there's nothing underground, but you didn't listen. The palatial mistress grumbled as she transferred her yuan qi to Ningyu. Swish. At this moment, Ningyu flicked his sleeves and a storage bag flew out and landed in the palatial mistress's sleeve. What? The palatial mistress opened her mouth and wanted to say something. However, she stopped after seeing Ningyu's gaze. SSS. The palatial mistress sent a portion of her soul power into the storage bag and opened her mouth again. There are 5 Xingyang pills in there. I hope you won't disappoint me. With that, Ningyu ignored the palatial mistress and threw another storage bag to the sword of evil. There are 10 Xingyang pills in there. Can you recover to your peak condition in half an hour? Ningyu paused for a moment before adding, What I mean is, can I recover to the pinnacle 8th grade human supreme? I can't do it in half an hour. If there are 15 Xingyang pills, I can do it. The sword of evil didn't ask where Ningyu got the Xingyang pills from. Swish. Without another word, Ningyu threw another storage bag to the sword of evil. There are 5 Xingyang pills in there. I'll give you half an hour. No problem. After obtaining another 5 Xingyang pills, the sword of evil let out a fervent expression as he hurriedly brought the storage bag to a corner and started devouring the Xingyang pills. As for Ningyu, he took out a Xingyang pill carefully and tossed it into his mouth to chew. Because of the barrier and the fact that Ningyu had sealed the aura of the Xingyang pill appropriately, the 6-ears spirit monkey did not realize how terrifying the Xingyang pill was. In the eyes of the 6 ears spirit monkey, the Xingyang pill was just an ordinary elixir. Gotcha. After swallowing a Xingyang pill, Ningyu channeled the spirit transformation technique and started devouring rapidly. Almost every second that passed, Ningyu's aura would strengthen a little. Bam! Chapter 1146. Recovery of the 5 Ultimate Kid. I'll start devouring the Red Lotus now. Hold on for a few more minutes. It'll be your death in a few more minutes. Half an hour later, not only did Ningyu recover to his peak state, even 6 ears had adjusted his mental state to its peak. The 6-eared spirit monkey, who was in his best condition, stretched out his right hand and grabbed the red lotus above his head. He said in a sinister tone, "Fortunately, you didn't get this red lotus. Otherwise, if you had gotten it, your cultivation would have advanced to 3rd-grade human sovereign and become one of the 5 absolute geniuses. 3rd-grade human supreme, one of the 5 ultimate geniuses. TSK, you can even kill me then. What's the point of me playing? That's right. You can't play anymore." Ningyu's eyes lit up as he said, "6-eared monkey, I will give you one last chance. Open the barrier and throw the red lotus over. Or else, this day next year will be your death anniversary." This day next year will be my death anniversary? The 6-eared spiritual monkey was slightly stunned. He pointed at his own nose and said, "Have you lost your mind? Or is there something wrong with your brain?" Rumble! Rumble! Before the 6-eared spirit monkey could finish his sentence, 2 terrifying auras shot up into the sky from afar. What? Feeling the 2 soaring auras, the 6-eared spirit monkey's mouth was agape as he stood rooted to the spot. Advanced 8th-grade human supreme. Peak 8th-grade human supreme. Of the 2 auras, one was at the advanced 8th-grade human supreme and the other was at the peak 8th-grade human supreme. It was obvious that the one with the advanced 8th-grade human supreme was the palace master and the one with the peak 8th-grade human supreme was the sword of evil. The palace master devoured 5 Xingyang pills and recovered to the peak 8th-grade human supreme. The sword of evil devoured 15 Xingyang pills and recovered to the peak 8th-grade human supreme. This is impossible. The eyes of the 6-eared spirit monkey were filled with despair. He was only an early 8th-grade human supreme, but there were 2 supremes who were much stronger than him. What could he do? Moreover, even if he devoured the red lotus, he wouldn't be able to fight against the palace master and the sword of evil. That's right, quickly devour the red lotus. The 6-eared spirit monkey was not a fool. On the contrary, he had a very high IQ. He knew that the only way for him to escape unscathed was to devour the red lotus and raise his cultivation to the 8th-grade middle human supreme realm. Then, he could use a secret technique to escape. Otherwise, it would be hard for him to escape death today. Go! The 6-eared spirit monkey's idea was perfect, but the reality made him feel despair. Ningyu would never allow a treasure like the red lotus to fall into the hands of 6-eared spiritual monkey. As Ningyu bellowed, the sword of evil and palace master Bai Hua moved quickly and arrived before the barrier in an instant. Bang! Bang! Each of them threw a punch at the barrier at the same time. Gotcha! Although the barrier set up by the 6-eared spirit monkey was very strong, it posed no problem to the sword of evil and palatial Lord Centauria Flowers. With a cracking sound, the barrier shattered. The sword of evil and palatial Mistress Centauria arrived beside the 6-eared spirit monkey, one on the left and one on the right. Ah! The sword of evil and palatial Mistress Centauria Flowers did not attack the 6-eared spirit monkey immediately. Instead, they unleashed their powerful aura, suppressing the 6-eared spirit monkey to the ground. Swish! Ningyu reacted quickly and caught the red lotus before it fell to the ground. Using a wisp of soul power to check the red lotus, Ningyu carefully placed it in his mouth after confirming that there was nothing wrong with it. Buzz! As the red lotus entered his stomach, Ningyu felt a warm sensation forming in his stomach and spreading continuously. This situation was clearly out of Ningyu's expectations. I didn't expect the red lotus to be so effective. In the beginning, Ningyu was still a little doubtful about whether the red lotus could help him advance to the third-grade mortal supreme realm. Now it seemed like he was overthinking it. Not only could the red lotus allow him to advance to the third-grade mortal supreme realm, it could also improve his physique, allowing him to recover from the 4 ultimate geniuses to the 5 ultimate geniuses. At the thought of this, Ningyu felt a little angry. If not for the 6 ears spirit monkey misleading him into swallowing the fake red lotus, it was highly possible that his talent would have risen to the level of the 6 ultimate geniuses. Now, it seemed like he had only risen his cultivation from the 2nd-grade mortal supreme realm to the 3rd-grade mortal supreme realm, and his talent was still that of the 5 ultimate geniuses. Pung pung pung. Continuous muffled sounds rang out in his body. Ningyu chose to endure the soreness all over his body and worked hard to refine the energy in his body. While Ningyu was refining the energy, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua had already taken control of the 6 ears spirit monkey. The 8 initial stage mortal supreme realm 6 ears spirit monkey was no match for Palace Master Bai Hua and the Sword of Evil. Frightened by the Sword of Evil and the rest, the 6 ears spirit monkey covered his head with both hands and chose to surrender. However, the Sword of Evil already knew of the 6 ears spirit monkey's craftiness, so he took the initiative to get rid of the 6 ears spirit monkey's cultivation. The current 6-eared spirit monkey did not even have the strength to truss a chicken. Any true martial realm martial artist could easily defeat him. Drip, drip. Time ticked by, and in the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. Ningyu opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. 3rd stage mortal supreme realm. At this moment, Ningyu had advanced from 2nd stage mortal supreme realm to 3rd stage mortal supreme realm, and had even recovered to the level of one of the 5 absolute geniuses. In other words, with Ningyu's current cultivation and strength, it would not be difficult for him to deal with an ordinary 8th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator. His strength had increased by several folds. This trip to the Devil's Cave was a blessing in disguise. Ningyu was very satisfied with the increase in his cultivation. Before entering the Devil's Cave, he had to be extremely careful when he encountered a peak 7th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator. Now, even if he encountered an 8th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator, he could do whatever he wanted. As long as it was not an 8th stage mortal supreme realm cultivator, Ningyu could almost kill them in an instant. Bring the 6 ears spirit monkey over. Retracting his aura, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Sha sha. The Sword of Evil escorted the 6 ears spirit monkey to Ningyu's side. Don't kill me. If you kill me, you definitely won't be able to leave the Devil's Cave. In the face of death, the 6 ears spirit monkey seemed to be in despair, and said hurriedly. After advancing to 3rd stage mortal supreme realm, Ningyu's perception had increased by a lot. Ningyu noticed that the 6 ears spirit monkey's right hand was quietly placed behind his back, and a glint of light appeared in his eyes. Trying to scheme against me. The corners of his mouth curled up, and Ningyu waved his hand and said, Sword of Evil, release the 6 ears spirit monkey. I have a few questions for him. All right. To be honest, the Sword of Evil had indeed tried to break the seal of the Devil's Cave. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he could not break it. Danwu College was still in dire straits. If he were to be trapped in the Devil's Cave now, the consequences would be unimaginable. Tell me, how do I break the Devil's Cave? Don't try to play tricks with me. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes are useless. Chapter 1147. Back to Danwu College, a good chance. Seeing that Ningyu had let down his guard, 6 Ears felt that his chance had come. However, to ensure that nothing went wrong, 6 Ears did not attack immediately. Instead, he said honestly, "Actually, breaking open the Devil's Cave is very simple. All you have to do is focus all your attacks on a single point, a point the size of a palm. That is the only way to break open the Devil's Cave." "That's it?" Ning Yu's mouth was slightly agape as he asked in confusion. Nodding, 6 Ears said, "That's it. There are no shortcuts." "All right, Sword of Evil, Palace Mistress Bai Hua, you two try to break open the same point. Me and Elder Dong." "Forget it, Elder Dong and I will attack as well. If we cannot break open the cave, we will have to attack again." Ning Yu seemed to be in a dilemma. As he spoke, he changed his mind and walked towards the blocked exit. Ning Yu's speed was not too fast. When he passed by 6 Ears, he paused for a moment. "Go." Just as Ning Yu was 10 feet away from 6 Ears, 6 Ears suddenly swung his right hand. Swoosh! In an instant, a cold gleam shot out and shot towards Ning Yu at an astonishing speed. Chi-chi! The speed of the cold gleam was so fast that the surrounding air began to emit a hissing sound and tremble. Courting death. Before the cold gleam could reach Ning Yu's body gradually disappeared. A low roar sounded in the 6-eared spirit monkey's ears. Not good. Hearing the low shout, the 6-eared spirit monkey's eyes widened and his pupils constricted. Poochie! However, it was too late for 6 Ears to regret his actions now. Ning Yu quickly appeared beside him, drew out the red demon's sword and pierced it into his heart. Looking down at the red flying sword in his heart, 6 Ears opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. However, before he could say anything, his body collapsed to the ground. At this moment, the 6-eared spirit monkey, who was at the early stage 8th grade human supreme realm, was completely dead. Sword of Evil, Palace Master 100 Flowers, there's no time to lose. Hurry up and attack with all your might. With no time to care about 6-eared spirit monkey, Ning Yu rushed to the exit of the area and punched the stone wall. Boom! 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 Seeing Ning Yu attack, the Sword of Evil, Palace Master Centauria, and even Dong he attacked with all their might, not daring to hold back. The people of Danwu College were still waiting for them to rescue them. Being trapped in the Devil's Cave at this time was a very frustrating thing. Bang! 4 consecutive terrifying fists bombarded the narrow area. In an instant the cave began to shake. Moreover, the shaking became more and more intense, to the point where it was terrifying. The cave is about to collapse. Everyone be careful. Ning Yu said in a deep voice, "When the time comes, Sword of Evil will bring Elder Dong, Palace Master Centauria, and I will leave the Devil's Cave together. We will head for Danwu College at full speed." Understood. The Sword of Evil and the rest replied in unison. Yuan Qi surged around them. The Sword of Evil and the rest were ready. Once the Devil's Cave was broken, they would leave immediately. At the same time, in the capital Danwu College, in the midst of death, Wu Hai's eyes flashed with a cold light. The Yuan Qi in his body continuously attacked the 100 Flowers array around him. Ka ka ka! The 100 Flowers array, which was originally full of defense, let out a cracking sound as it was attacked by Wu Hai's powerful Yuan Qi. It looked like it was about to break. With a maniacal laugh, Wu Hai threw out several punches, each one landing on the 100 Flowers array. After being bombarded by so many punches from Wu Hai, the already unstable 100 Flower formation completely collapsed with a loud rumble. Purple Gold Sky Devouring Hound. The first thing that Wu Hai did after leaving the 100 Flower array was to come before the Dark Emperor and eerily said, "You devoured the late phase 7th grade Sovereign Hualei, so I'll let you experience the feeling of being devoured by someone else." "Oh right. I won't devour you directly. I'll roast you and enjoy you slowly." "Humph. Ning Yu will be back soon. When he returns, it will be the time of your death." The Dark Emperor snorted. Haha, Ningyu is nothing. He's just a mere second-grade human sovereign. I can kill him with a flip of my hand. Wu Hai curled his lips and smiled. You better pray that Ningyu doesn't come. Otherwise, I'll let him know the meaning of cruelty. Wu Hai, the sea of bitterness has no bounds. Repent and you'll be saved. The talisman supremacy said faintly. Are you sure you're talking to me? Wu Hai knitted his brows and hesitated. Although you're an 8th grade middle phase human sovereign with powerful strength, I still have to tell you that even if you can kill us today, you will be killed by someone else tomorrow. The talisman sovereign spoke without any joy or sorrow on his face. Since when did you become a Buddhist? Wu Hai asked. Forget it. I'll kill all of you first before tidying up this area to prevent any unforeseen event. Wu Hai shook his head. In a few minutes, the Eastern Expedition Army will break through the seal and descend upon this courtyard. I have to prepare to welcome them. Whoosh! As he spoke, Wu Hai stomped on the ground and his figure darted forth. Wu Hai's speed was so fast that he was only an afterimage in the eyes of the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy. Fight! Seeing that Wu Hai was about to arrive before them, the Dark Emperor and the Talisman Supremacy yelled. Fight! Before me, Wu Hai, no matter how you fight, there's no chance of survival. The corner of Wu Hai's lips rose as he clenched his right fist and threw it towards the Dark Emperor's head. This punch of Wu Hai's was extremely powerful and heavy, containing extremely terrifying yuan qi fluctuations. As the Dark Emperor had yet to refine Hua Lei in his body, he did not have much battle prowess at the moment. It was best to describe him as powerless. It's over. Seeing Wu Hai attacking the Dark Emperor with all his might, Mu Feng's heart sank to the bottom. Mu Feng wanted to help the Dark Emperor, but he was too weak. He hadn't even reached the Sovereign Realm, and Wu Hai could kill him with a single breath. Are we really going to die? What? Mu Feng yelled out. However, Mu Feng's yell came to an abrupt halt. Mu Feng saw that the Dark Emperor seemed to be being hugged by something and was quickly retreating to another area. Who is it? Who's sneaking around? Come out. The sudden change caused Wu Hai's face to change as he reprimanded. How could Wu Hai not be angry that he lost his prey? The Dark Emperor was a purple-gold sky-devouring hound. As long as he could kill and roast the Dark Emperor, his strength could improve a little. But now, before he could even strike the Dark Emperor was rescued by an unknown person. As you wish. Just as Wu Hai reprimanded, an indifferent voice came from the void. Whoosh! Chapter 1148. Investigation, damn it! Wu Hai cursed in his heart at the critical moment. He clenched his right fist and pushed it out. Swish! Swish! After the fists collided, the two figures quickly retreated. Ningyu! Stabilizing himself, Wu Hai looked at the familiar figure in front of him with an extremely ugly expression. Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm. Wu Hai realized that Ningyu's cultivation had already reached Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm. Ningyu was a genius of the 5 absolute geniuses. Coupled with his Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm cultivation, didn't that mean that his strength was on par with his own? Whoosh! Right at this moment, the space suddenly split open, and 2 more figures appeared in this area. Looking at the 2 figures that suddenly appeared, Wu Hai couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His heart sank to the bottom. Sword of Evil, Palace Master Centauria. Be it the Sword of Evil or Palace Master Centauria, the terrifying aura that they emitted far surpassed his. Who the hell is telling me what's going on with this world? Wu Hai had the urge to curse. It was one thing for Ningyu to advance from Grade 2 Human Supreme Realm to Grade 3 Human Supreme Realm, but what was going on with the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Centauria? One was a late Grade 8 Human Supreme Realm, while the other was a peak Grade 8 Human Supreme Realm. Wu Hai's cultivation was only at the intermediate grade 8 human supreme realm. It was already difficult for him to kill Ningyu, not to mention the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Centauria. The seal will be broken in 5 minutes. By then, the main forces of the pro-war faction will arrive. I have to hold on for 5 minutes no matter what. Clenching his fists, Wu Hai made up his mind. Hold on for 5 minutes. As long as he could hold on for 5 minutes, it would be the time of Ningyu's death when the pro-war faction's higher-ups arrive. Thinking about it, Wu Hai sorted out his thoughts and said without any change in his expression, Ningyu, although I have no idea how you managed to advance to 3rd grade sovereign realm, I can only tell you that you're too naive if you think that you can deal with me just like that. I don't need you to judge whether I'm naive or not, Ningyu said lightly. Ah. Throwing his head back and laughing maniacally, Wu Hai coldly said, I know you want to kill me. I'll give you a chance to kill me now. Have a fair duel with me. As long as you win, I'll be at your mercy. I'm not interested in dead people. After saying this, Ningyu walked towards the Dark Emperor without looking back. The Dark Emperor was still enduring the pain of being unable to refine the energy in his body. Ningyu needed to help him refine the energy as soon as possible. Furthermore, the Dark Emperor was a 2nd grade sovereign realm cultivator. According to Ningyu's estimation, once he helped the Dark Emperor completely refine the energy in his body, there was a high chance that the Dark Emperor would advance to 3rd grade sovereign realm. A purple-gold sky-devouring hound at 3rd grade sovereign realm wasn't any weaker than some of the 5 absolute geniuses. Humph. I was wondering how powerful you were. So it turns out that you're just a wax figure with a silver spear. Nice to look at but useless. Seeing Ningyu leave, Wu Hai coldly snorted. Swish. Just as Wu Hai's cold words landed, the Sword of Evil's figure flashed and appeared before him. What are you trying to do? Wu Hai's heart skipped a beat, but he remained calm on the surface. Poochie. The Sword of Evil didn't waste time with Wu Hai. He instantly unleashed his aura and suppressed Wu Hai. Being suppressed by the Sword of Evil's terrifying aura, Wu Hai opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Compared to the Sword of Evil, Wu Hai's cultivation was 2 grades lower. A difference of 2 grades between an 8th grade sovereign realm cultivator and an 8th grade sovereign realm cultivator was almost impossible to overcome. Furthermore, Wu Hai wasn't even an absolute genius. He was just an ordinary 8th grade sovereign pill puppet. Facing Wu Hai's terrifying aura, he couldn't withstand it at all. Sword of Evil, find a way to force the pill puppet to reveal the exact location to open the pill cave. Then, you and Palace Master Bai Hua will reinforce the seal at that location. Although Ningyu was helping the Dark Emperor refine the energy in his body, Ningyu didn't forget his objective this time. He had to seal the pill cavern so that the pill puppet army could not escape from it. Understood. Actually, even without Ningyu's reminder, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua knew what to do. Palace Master Bai Hua unleashed her perception and carefully probed the ground. As for the Sword of Evil, he started interrogating Wu Hai. Faced with the Sword of Evil's interrogation, Wu Hai only lasted for a minute before he was defeated. Wu Hai was very clear that he had to tell the truth whether he wanted to or not. When one's cultivation reached their level, not only would there be no problems, they could even use a secret technique to extract one's memories. Having one's memories extracted was a very painful thing. Those with weaker endurance might even die on the spot. Wu Hai didn't wish to die. He didn't last long before he told the Sword of Evil everything. Let's go. After crippling Wu Hai's cultivation, the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua exchanged glances before burrowing into the ground. As for Ningyu, he didn't follow. With the Sword of Evil and Palace Master Bai Hua taking action, Ningyu was more or less at ease. At this moment, Ningyu was doing his best to help the Dark Emperor refine the energy in his body. Due to the fact that Ningyu had advanced to grade 3 sovereign, The energy that would have taken a long time to refine for the Dark Emperor was only refined in a few minutes. After the energy was completely refined, the Dark Emperor let out a long sigh with excitement on his face. Third-grade human supreme. The Dark Emperor was originally a peak second-grade human supreme. After refining the energy in his body, he directly advanced to third-grade human supreme. A purple-gold sky-devouring hound at third-grade human supreme was extremely terrifying. Even Ningyu felt a little fearful when facing the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor, are you able to kill a 7th-grade sovereign now? Ningyu asked with a frown. Ningyu needed to have a clear understanding of the Dark Emperor's fighting strength. That way, he could arrange a suitable opponent for the Dark Emperor in the future. 7th-grade human supreme? Aren't you underestimating me too much? The Dark Emperor curled his lips and said in disdain, "Let me put it this way. If I face Hualei again, I can kill him with a flip of my hand." Hualei is a late 7th-grade human supreme, but you're only a 3rd-grade human supreme. Ningyu frowned and said doubtfully, "So what if I'm a late 7th-grade human supreme? To tell you the truth, I'm equivalent to one of the 5 ultimate geniuses." The Dark Emperor said proudly, "I can defeat a martial artist like you with a wave of my hand." As the word defeat fell, the Dark Emperor's figure flashed and appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. His tail swept towards Ningyu's chest. This move of the Dark Emperor was several times stronger than when he was a 2nd-grade human sovereign. Ningyu couldn't help but take such a terrifying attack seriously. "Let me try retreat." Ningyu clenched his right fist and was about to throw a punch when he shouted. At the same time, Ningyu's fist punched towards another part of the void. A hysterical scream came from the void. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.